Welcome back to Last Stop Sports Talk here on episode 91. It is Saturday, June 28th, 2025. I'm here with King Crop, Carson Crop. I'm Cody Crop, and today we got a good one for you. Of course, we're going to be talking NFL X Factor. So we're going to look at each team and see who is an X Factor. And let's go right to the definition. Let's turn right to good old Merriam-Webster because they do it well over there. At least we think so.
Yeah.
So here's their definition. It explains it really well how we'll be thinking about this. So they define X Factor as a person who has a strong but unpredictable influence. So basically, we're going to be looking at people that either are new to the team or like vets that haven't really been up to snuff for a while.
Stepping into a new role, maybe.
Right, and who's going to have a big influence on whether the team succeeds or not.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty much it. So we're going to go through each team here, and we're going to start it off with the NFC West, starting off with the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, I'm going to get us started off right here. And we're going to start off with a rookie today because we're going with cornerback Will Johnson because you look up and down this Cardinals depth chart, and basically they brought back the same guys that they had last year, especially outside cornerbacks. And the outside cornerbacks last year were really, really bad. They struggled. And honestly, we probably could have seen this coming because the group was made up of rookie last year, Max Melton, who I think is probably going to end up being a fine player. Sean Murphy-Bunting, Sterling Thomas the fifth. All these guys proved that none of them are CB1s. And then in comes Will Johnson. He fell to 47th overall due to injury concerns, some speed concerns, and taking a slight step back in 2024. And before the 2024 season, though, Will Johnson was fairly easily projected to be a top 10 pick in the 2025 draft. For what it's worth, he was like one of the top-rated players in the College Football 2025 game.
Wasn't he on the cover, too?
Yeah, he was on the – well, I don't know if he was on the cover, but I think he was a 99 overall.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's what I'm remembering.
I think, or 98. He was definitely the top corner, and I think like a top 5 player overall, maybe number 1. I can't remember. But that is because you look at his prospect profile, because it's really all we can do now because he hasn't played an NFL snap before, and you compare it to the rest of the cornerback room of the Cardinals, and Will Johnson is truly the only corner in that room that they have with the true potential to be a number 1 cornerback in the NFL. Both Cody and Carson had him ranked as a CB1 in this draft class. He's got the size that defensive coordinators dream of for their outside cornerbacks at 6'2", 194, 30 and an eighth-inch arms. But what really stood out to me in his film is his ability to read the QB, anticipate, jump to passing lanes, especially in zone coverage. A player who I think is going to fit very nicely into Jonathan Gannon's defense that played zone coverage just over 70% of the time, which was 13th highest in the league last year. And I think Arizona gives Will Johnson the perfect chance to prove himself as a CB1 in the NFL and a huge value in the draft, making quarterback-needy teams wish they didn't pass on him back in the draft. But that's kind of the way that I saw it. I think that they need a CB1 there badly. And they just need leaders on this defense in general. It's basically Budda Baker and then a bunch of names. I mean, Calais Campbell's coming back. He's an old name who is just kind of going to be like a mentor and just kind of show the ropes to Walter Nolan.
Second-round pick in 2008.
Yeah, Calais Campbell.
Oh, boy,
yeah. There's some names in that draft class that are crazy. Guys that have been retired for years.
Oh, yeah.
And Calais Campbell is still doing it. But they need leaders. They need young leaders who are going to be there for a while, and Will Johnson is the perfect guy, I think, to step in and be just that.
Yeah, I think that's really good. And, this defense was always the downfall of the team. No matter what Kyler Murray did, this defense couldn't get a stop. And the corner is going to be important in this division because you go against Puka Nacua twice a year. Whatever the 49ers are cooking that year, which is usually little talent but a lot of scheme and brains behind that operation. Then the Seahawks, who have JSN up and coming, and Cooper Kupp. They need someone to defend these receivers, and Will Johnson's going to be great for that.
Yeah, I agree. And behind, obviously having a line, if we see a lot of teams that either their downfall is the corner or like they have a really good defense, and if you don't have a corner, it's normally not good news.
Steelers.
Yeah. Well, easy. All right, let's move to the LA Rams. So I was looking up and down this roster, and like LA Rams had way more success than we thought they would last year, especially on the defensive side. So like I was first thinking defense, and I'm like, sure, there's maybe not big names. Well, there are. I mean, Jared Verse, Byron Young, now Braden Fisk, and like so they've got some guys, but not the giant names, But in my head, like they just made it work. So like I didn't want to choose a guy on that side. So I go to the offensive side. And they were relatively successful also with Matt Stafford still slinging the pill and obviously Puka Nacua going nuts. And Kyron's back there. But I think a big thing on teams that are really good and can really take that next step, especially a team that loses a receiver, I think Devontae Adams coming in, like, he's a big name, but he hasn't been up to what he should be or what he has been in years past. So I think Devontae Adams will be a huge X factor this year coming in, because this year's receiver room for the Rams before Devontae sat as this: Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, Jordan Whittington, and then they brought in Britton Covey and they drafted Kanata Mumpfield. So, like, not a lot behind Puka. So, like,
awesome name though.
Yeah,
great names. But if Puka were to go down or something, because as we've talked about, he gets freaking shellacked anytime he catches the ball. Who do they got? They don't have a threat. Like, they don't have a Puka Nacua level threat, I should say. So to bring in Devontae for relatively cheap in hopes that he can be, like, either draw some attention away from Puka so that they can both work down the field, I think that's huge. There's a lot of people that doubt it, but I guess that's what makes him an X factor, is because we don't really know what's going to happen. But if Devontae can even get back to 80% of what he was whenever he was really, really good, I think that's going to be huge for the Rams. Give Matthew Stafford more targets to throw to.
Yeah, we said before Puka's an animal, but he does get injured, and I think Devontae's going to definitely help alleviate the load a little bit and give Matthew Stafford another go-to guy, because teams have to be catching on that Puka gets 12 targets a game, and he's who the offense runs through. So it's good to have a backup plan there now.
Yeah, I've been one of the guys who's hated on Devontae Adams this offseason, unfortunately.
A lot of people do.
But that is, as you said, Cody, that is why he's an X factor, because we don't know if he's ever going to get back to that guy that he was before, back with Aaron Rodgers the first time. Because of that uncertainty and the fact that, like, oh, he's not going to be a number 2, or he's not going to be a number 1 anymore. He's coming into a new team where he doesn't know anybody, and they're paying him quite a bit of money to do so, and that is everything that embodies an X factor. And they are probably going to need him, because Puka is probably going to ram his head into something that he shouldn't.
Probably, yeah.
Right. Moving on to the 49ers. Their offense last year, everybody hates on it, says down year, Kyle Shanahan, blah, blah, blah. But they actually had the 4th best offensive grade last season, which I was shocked by. Yeah. And then I looked at their defense, and they had the 4th most points allowed. Ooh. So on paper, their defense is way underperforming their offense. So I'm going to go to the defense here, and their run defense last season graded at 54.6, and they have to be better there to compete. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go with the rookie tandem of Alfred Collins and Mykel Williams, which is kind of cheating, but I think they're both going to play a huge role in this defense, and as we scouted them both, we found them both to be great run stoppers. Alfred Collins is the big boy in the middle. Mykel Williams is an edge rusher that's really great at swimming back inside, stopping the run. And their pressure grade last season was 68.1, so they could provide some help there too. But more importantly, I think that they're going to solidify this line, and C.J. West is also there as well. They spent 3 other top 4 3 guys in the first 4 rounds of the NFL draft. They focused on the D-line. And really whether these guys can blossom into NFL players or if they flunk, then that's going to be what this defense pivots on, is their success. So that's why they're my X factors.
Yeah, and they really need them to step up. I was a hater of Mykel Williams as well, because he hasn't really proven too much as a pass rusher, but as you said, Carson, this team really, really needs run defense, and they just lost Dre Greenlaw, who's always down there right in the box. Another guy down in the box is Talanoa Hufanga. They lost Javon Hargrave on the inside. They need these guys to step up along the D-line to Mykel Williams set the edge. Alfred Collins just be the big block in the middle, who is just holding on to 2 offensive linemen and clogging up the middle. And be the potato in the drain.
Yes.
That's what they need him to do.
The drain clogger.
And I think that's what these guys come in profiled as, and they are set up perfectly to do so.
Yeah.
Diamador Lenore just got arrested too.
He did.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, it was like resisting a peace officer or something like that.
Oh,
yeah.
So I don't know where he was at. That there was like an officer that was there to keep the peace, but he was resisting.
Yeah.
And lucky for them, Robert Saleh does come back as DC, so that's
what I was gonna say. What better place for some of these possibly not questionable, but rookies with question marks to go into than a Robert Saleh-led defense.
Yes.
It's a pretty good setup there.
I'm excited to see him back in San Fran.
Mm-hmm.
The Seahawks, here's the one that might get some
Here we
eye
go.
rolls
Yeah.
here.
Oh, boy.
I went with wide receiver Marquez Valdez-Scantling as the X Factor of the Seattle Seahawks. I understand any eye rolls that I'm going to get for this X Factor selection here, but hold up. Let me explain, please.
Hold up, let him cook.
Yeah. MVS may be the only vertical threat wide receiver on the Seahawks roster here. Every other wide receiver has historically worked less than 20 yards down the field. And I'm going to go through the numbers here.
Wrong.
MVS total targets in his career, 7 seasons, 425. His total 20-plus yard targets in his NFL career, 150. So that percentage of total targets that were 20-plus yards down the field, 35.3%. Now, Cooper Kupp obviously made way more catches, a way better receiver all around
Certainly, yeah.
than MVS. His total targets in his NFL career, 8 seasons, 941. 20-plus targets in his NFL career is 98. So 98 compared to, for MVS, 150. So the percentage of Cooper Kupp's total targets that were 20-plus yards down the field is 10.4%. Compared to 35.3% of MVS. Then you go to JSN. His percentage of downfield targets, 20-plus yards, 13.5%. Jake Bobo, who hasn't played a whole lot in the NFL, but he's a preseason legend every single year. He gets a ton of hype.
Yeah.
This guy gets more hype than almost any receiver out there. And he's played like a total of 300 NFL snaps. But so we're going to go to his college career. His percentage of total targets that were 20-plus yards down the field is 12.1%. Torrey Horton is the other guy who I really thought about as a rookie, a 5th-round rookie coming in out of Colorado State. The percentage of his total targets that were 20-plus yards down the field in college were 24.0%, which is closer to that 35.3%, but still, Torrey Horton was – that's such a hard name to say.
Is, yeah.
Torrey Horton was very injured last year, and after 2 back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons at Colorado State, last year he took a step back, only played like 6 games, so we don't know if he's going to come back to – he probably is going to come back to him full self, but he has to learn how to be an NFL receiver. So MVS is the guy that I went with. He's also the only NFL-proven outside wide receiver on the Seahawks. Because MVS, the percentage of NFL snaps that he has lined up out wide in his NFL career is 66.2%. Cooper Kupp's percentage of NFL snaps lined up out wide in his NFL career is 35.8. JSN outside, 22.2. Jake Bobo in college, 70.6. But he has a college average depth of target, ADOT, of 10.4 yards. MVS, his ADOT over his NFL career is 16.7 yards. Torrey Horton, again, he's also lined up out wide, 79.4% of the time. But he's got a college ADOT, again, of 11.6 yards compared to that 16.7 of MVS. Now, I know all the hate surrounding MVS, okay? Never had a 1,000-yard receiving season in college or the NFL. Have you?
Oh, wow.
You know.
Boy, yeah.
Last season, on 15 20-plus yard targets, he caught 4 of them for 2
nice.
touchdowns, accumulating 42.3% of his total receiving yards in 2024 in 4 plays. He also dropped 2 of those targets.
Nice. Wow. Boy.
He has 24 drops over his entire NFL career with a 9.1 career drop rate.
Oh, how's he have a job?
I know. Cooper Kupp, in comparison, has a 4.7% career drop rate, which is there's the comparison there.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying by any means that MVS is going to come in and be a wide receiver 1 on this team or anything even close to that. But what I'm saying is that on this team full of receivers that have historically worked like across the middle, just not very far down the field, I'm saying that MVS could bring a lot of value to the Seahawks this season if and when they want a big passing play. Because that's what he's historically been. I remember those 2 touchdowns last year. They were electric. Derek Carr threw just missiles down the field, and MVS happened to catch him and ran him in for a touchdown. That's the kind of big play that can change a game. And if the Seahawks don't have anybody else who can do that, then MVS has to be the guy. Just purely out of, well, we have nobody else.
Yeah, that's a good point. This team desperately needs a deep threat, and I guess MVS is going to have to be the guy.
Yeah!
Oh, that's awesome. All right, let's move to the AFC West, and we'll start it off with the Denver Broncos, one of our loved teams. So, obviously, rookie Bo Nix last year, new head coach Sean Payton, and a lot went very, very well for that team. They had quite a bit of success for a rookie and a new head coach and a lot of new pieces and a lot of lack thereof pieces, which is where I'm going to go to the X Factor area. So, on the defensive side, their defense was incredible last year. And what do? Well, they only make it better. Bring in Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga. They draft Jahdae Barron and Savion Jones, and it's just check, 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 check. They are deep and strong. So I'm not worried about that defense, as no one should be. So we'll go back to that offensive side, and Bo Nix had a pretty decent year.
I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, so, but of course, now that they've been so good, they're going to want to do better. So what do you do to make it better? You look down the list here. They have a decent line. They kept him pretty clean. Mm-hmm. They bring in J.K. Dobbins in the running back room. They bring in R.J. Harvey in the draft. They've still got Audric Estime and a bunch of other guys. So their running back room still crowded, but they got players there with talent. So I'm not too worried about that. Tight end, they brought in Evan Ingram. Sure, he's getting older, but he has been proven to be a very good offensive threat as far as being pass catching and things of that nature. So I want to look to that, obviously, receiver room that is definitely lacking.
Come on.
And so I would love to say for an X Factor, the whole X Factor is the receiver room or lack thereof because there's all question marks. But I'll be a little more specific. So we've still got Courtland Sutton. Sure, he's aging, but he's a proven, good set of hands. And him and Bo Nix had a really, really good connection for a lot of games. But we need guys to help him out. Obviously, there was Marvin Mims and Devon Vele.
Oh, yeah.
But we want more than that. So we're going to say our X Factor this year. I'm going to have to split it because I couldn't make my mind up because these guys are going to make a huge difference. They're going to need to step up. We need Troy Franklin and Pat Bryant to really make a move and make a step up to be what they were drafted to be. And, Troy Franklin needs to get his bond back with Bo Nix and get that connection again. And Pat Bryant needs to come in and do what he does and just be a great receiver. And they just need more options, more solid, reliable, consistent options behind Courtland Sutton to let Bo Nix further his game even more and let him open the field up even more than he already did, which was very, very good. But so I think Pat Bryant, Troy Franklin, X Factor this year under the head coaching of Sean Payton. I think there's a very good chance of that. And another year for Bo Nix. It's going to be great. But if they don't step up, then I think they're going to be stuck in the 10-11 win category at best next year. Again, they're just going to be limited. Their defense is incredible, but your offense will limit you at some point in the season.
Yeah, I love Pat Bryant, my guy, and I view him as a better version of what Devon Vele was last year. Someone that's not going to kill you with speed. He's not going to kill you with agility. He's not going to kill you with contested catches, but he's going to have great timing. He's going to create enough separation to use his long body to catch some balls that Bo Nix puts right in the right spot.
Yeah.
And then Troy Franklin is that Maserati, Corvette, whatever. He's a speedster that can stretch the field for you.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. Troy Franklin is the guy who could kill you with speed, but he could also kill you with drops. He had four drops last year on deep targets that were just beautifully thrown by Bo Nix. And I think he just needs to shake off the nerves. I think that Troy Franklin will get better. Again, I don't want to believe the Devon Vele hype that is always coming out because I know that Pat Bryant and Troy Franklin are already better receivers than Devon Vele is. And Marvin Mims is always going to have one or two games where he just goes off for 150 yards and then the next week he goes for 20 yards.
Yeah.
So I completely agree with you, Cody. Pat Bryant and Troy Franklin are the future wide receivers of this team, and they do need to step up for their young quarterback.
All right, moving on to the Kansas City Chiefs. This defense and really the entire team all around are already elite. So my X factor, based off of what happened last season, is Rashee Rice and his healthy return. Because this offense really runs through Rashee Rice, and after he went down, they just couldn't find any solid replacement for him. They tried Juju, they tried Justin Watson, they even tried some Niki Remigio.
Nice.
And Travis Kelce will show up in the playoffs. Maybe not regular season, but this team's good enough to get to the regular season without him.
Playoffs without him.
Yeah, get to the playoffs without him. especially running through Rashee Rice. And once you get to the playoffs, Travis Kelce's going to be there, and Rashee Rice is going to help alleviate his load all season. He's the guy that gets the yards after the catch for
what a guy.
helps get the yards after the catch for Mahomes. Strong receiver, works out of the slot, can work outside as well, but just that nice solid set of hands that Mahomes can rely on. That's always going to be his go-to guy on third down alongside Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I agree. I was a big fan of Rashee Rice coming out, and then he unfortunately goes down. But yeah, I think he'd be very good pretty much anywhere. But if you got a guy like Patrick Mahomes who's very accurate and not afraid to throw it, it really opens you up to really possibly be the best receiver that you can be. So I think it's a good spot for him. And yeah, if he can get healthy and come back, that's going to be a problem.
Yeah, sometimes we see guys as they're coming back from injury. That first year back is kind of slow. I hope we don't see that from Rashee Rice. Luckily, the way he works is kind of like running back-ish, and all the yards after catch that he gets, I hope that he is not – I am honestly kind of projecting that he is looking at least a little bit slower to start off the year, and then he really picks it up as the season goes on. But you could see, as Carson said, just how much he means to this offense, because they had to force Xavier Worthy into a role that he really just wasn't fit for his rookie year. So
yeah, definitely.
Rashee Rice is a guy they definitely need to be good again and be on the team and be healthy and have healthy knees.
Yeah, healthy knees.
Stay out of the way, Patrick Mahomes.
And stay out of vehicles. But.
Yeah, stay out of vehicles. That moves us to the Las Vegas Raiders, and they had a lot of turnover. Not like turnovers like the stat. They had a lot of turnover as in they what?
I was trying to think of it. I was late to it.
Go ahead.
So I don't want to interrupt you, but I was thinking, I don't know why there's a perfect X Factor you could have chose for the Kansas City Chiefs. You could have chose X Factor. They're super fan.
Oh, the guy who went to jail?
No, that was the Wolf.
Oh, okay.
There's literally a guy named X Factor. He's been their super fan for years. It don't matter. He wears a weird hat that says X Factor.
And he doesn't rob banks.
He does not rob. Well, allegedly, yeah.
Okay,
he does not rob banks.
Okay.
Not
I
that
thought
I
you were
know.
going to say like the team chef or something to make the cheeseburgers just a little bit better.
That's good too. No, I just X Factor episode. Okay, Raiders.
All good. The Raiders, they lost a lot of guys on defense. Bobby Spillane, Trayvon Merrick. Those are the two main ones that it's like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
So in comes a new guy who I was really surprised, but I looked this up and verified it. The new green dot for this defense, who is the player that has the DC in his ear and has to relay every single defensive play call to his teammates. It's linebacker Elandon Roberts.
No.
Yeah. So, as I said, Bobby Spillane, Trayvon Merrick, they left in free agency. And between those two players in 2024, they accounted for a combined 262 tackles on defense. That's what you have leading your defense. Those were the two leading defenders in terms of tackles. Yeah. So not only does Elandon Roberts have to step up as a leader vocally as the green dot, but also statistically in tackles and run support. And throughout Roberts' career, he's thrived in run support, honestly. Even recently, his past 2 seasons in Pittsburgh were filled with hard-hitting, head-first, brick wall tackles in short yardage situations. And then the team would usually score the next play. But for that play, it was like, oh, damn! It was like hitting a brick wall. And it was Elandon Roberts. And at age 31 now, this is quite the opportunity for Roberts to prove that he's still got it. And now, luckily for Roberts, the Raiders also added linebacker Jermaine Pratt to work beside him and box safety Jeremy Chin to help him. Both those guys are known for their tackling ability, run support help. But this defense is going to look very, very different in 2025 with Pete Carroll coming in. And 5 projected new defensive starters, and Elandon Roberts has been chosen to be their leader, which I think is high praise for a guy who, I don't know, whenever he was on the Steelers, obviously, you guys being Steelers fans, like, I feel like the best thing you can say about him is that, like, he's mid.
Yeah, I mean, he was good.
He shows up every once or twice a game.
We're good because they only put him on the field when he should be on the field.
Right.
Like, not for coverage.
Not for coverage at all.
Steelers were so loaded they didn't need him every play. So,
I mean, so he does have a role, and it's going to be interesting seeing him now in an every down role as the leader, the guy who is the green dot. So I have high hope for him because I love to watch this guy play. He's like an old, like lesser, slower Dre Greenlaw, just in the way that he hits so hard. So I'm excited for Elandon Roberts.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Yeah, putting him into this role is going to be huge. But yeah, I think he's got the ability to do it for sure. And another guy that's just like where better of a place than to go under a Pete Carroll defense. I mean, that's a really good spot for him.
Wasn't he retired or a free agent or something before the Steelers signed him again?
No, that was Miles Jack.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was Miles Jack.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't remember for Landon Roberts. I don't think so.
Okay.
Anywho, let's move to the Los Angeles Chargers. First year last year with Jim Harbaugh at the helm, and boy, did it make a difference. They had way more success. They brought in Ladd McConkey last year, who just went nuts with I think it was 1,000+ yards.
Like 1,400.
Yeah, it was a lot. And Herbert was throwing to him early and often because, well, who else did he have to throw to? Which is where we're going to go directly to for an X Factor this year. So, again, we're going back to the receiver room for me. I seem to like to focus my gaze there. So, we obviously just talked about Ladd McConkey. He's very, very good. But then we try to look behind him. Looks a little stinky. Looks a little slim pickings.
And it's not Ladd McConkey farting.
No, it's definitely not. So we got Quentin Johnson. Big question marks there, obviously. It's like, is he going to be what they hoped him to be and drafted him to be? A first rounder a couple of years ago? It's like, is he going to do it? You don't really know. Hasn't really seen it yet. We got Mike Williams coming back. That could be very, very good. Big-bodied wide receiver, down-the-field guy, but he's also older. He's like 31 or something like that. So we don't know about that. We brought in 2 rookies this year. One guy by the name of Trey Harris, I think, is going to be the X factor this year. Big-bodied, down-the-field type wide receiver. Just can be dominant if he wants to. Just throw it up to him. There's a good chance he's going to be catching it. And I think that's what Justin Herbert is going to need to open this offense up, because he went crazy with Ladd. But I don't know what the depth of target was for Ladd. But, of course, Ladd's a slot receiver. So he was always in the midfield and then was able to make things happen with using his legs down the field. But you can only do so much of that. So you need someone on that outside. And I think Trey Harris is going to be more of an X factor than Mike Williams this year. I think that Mike Williams is probably going to end up having some really good games, and Quentin Johnson will probably step in there and have some decent ones too. But I think if this offense really wants to take off, they're going to need Trey Harris to come in and be what they drafted him to be, which is a second-round, big-bodied, deep threat type wide receiver, and just someone that Justin Herbert can rely on, other than Ladd McConkey, and see if they can open that offense up.
Yeah, I like you choosing him as an X factor because he really is unpredictable. He was, like you said, he was a bigger guy that uses strength and size at the catch point, I guess. So much so that he almost looks like he would be better as a big slot. But Ladd McConkey, obviously, as a slot occupied. So it's going to be interesting to see how they utilize him and how he can create separation, because he is different than Mike Williams and Quentin Johnson. He's not a speedster. He's it's kind of like a faster tight end, I guess.
I kind of think of him, it may not be completely accurate, but I kind of think of him as like a Juju type. Juju Smith-Schuster. Juju's bigger but slower, but he uses his play strength a lot more than speed because he's not fast. But if, like, Juju had some really, really good years, I think Trey Harris will probably end up being more talented and maybe a little faster, but we'll see. That's kind of how I like to think of his skill level or his talent.
Yeah, Ladd McConkey's ADOT last year was 10.7, which is on the lower side considering Trey Harris last year at Ole Miss was up at 12, and Condre Lambert-Smith at Auburn was at 13.7. So, this team badly needs guys who can win on the outside. Because, and as you said, Cody, just be relied upon. Just show up and catch balls.
That's it, yeah.
Because Quentin Johnston has proven multiple times throughout his short NFL career that he can't do that.
Yeah.
So, just to have somebody reliable who, maybe he doesn't have to be the number one, because Ladd McConkey is the number one on the team. They're the guy who's going to separate. But at least be a presence on the outside who is going to be reliable and going to get open at least.
Moving on to the NFC South, starting off with the Atlanta Falcons. Last season, everybody saw it when they watched the games. They had a tackling grade of 33.3 to go along with a 59 pressure grade. This team could not get any pressure on the quarterback, and once the running back or receiver, whoever got into the secondary, they struggled to tackle him. So that leads me to the X factor being rookie linebacker Jalen Walker.
Ooh, nice.
And I called him a linebacker, not an edge, for a reason. We have him ranked as our 5th ranked edge because we don't think he'll excel as an edge in the NFL. I think he'll be best suited as a chess piece to move around as an on-ball, off-ball combination hybrid linebacker and just let him make plays. And that's perfectly suited to what this defense needs. This defense needs tackling. They need pressure. Linebackers, edges, they need it all. And if he can do that for this defense, it'll help put them over the edge and make a run in the playoffs. They bring in James Pierce Jr. as well, Leonard Floyd. They buff up their secondary, but still, like I said, they're struggling in linebackers and edges. So if he can play both in a Micah Parsons similar type role with more off-ball, then that's going to elevate this defense, and I think they could finally be hopefully a little bit exciting.
Dude, I hope so. I don't want to see Jalen Walker and his athleticism just thrown on the defensive line. I want to see them use him like a chess piece because this defense, I feel like I can't remember if we mocked this, but we have talked about before the draft how Atlanta's defense just needed a spark so badly. And the biggest spark you could possibly get in this draft, guy who's just electric as far as movement skills and just can kind of play multiple positions, is Jalen Walker. So I hope that he does become this for the Falcons, again, because I'm rooting for them and think that they're going to be good this year.
Yeah, I think so. They have such a good secondary, but yeah, they just doesn't provide a spark like you said. So yeah, I agree. I think it's could be great for them.
Moves us next to the Carolina Panthers. And there were a few different directions that I could have gone with this team because they all are just a lot of young guys or just retreads that all have something to prove. But the guy who I went with is definitely young, and Carson's going to approve of this because I went with edge rusher Nick Scorton.
Yes!
We saw last year. Yeah, we saw last year. Obviously, Nick Scorton is a big my guy for Carson. You're edge 2? Yeah. Derek Brown, defensive tackle, went down last year in week 1, and they lost every single ounce of pass rush that they had whenever that happened. Jadeveon Clowney was their pressures leader with just 44, and now he's gone.
Yeah.
Second in pressures on the team was DJ Wanham with 26. Over a full 17-game season, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But
Edge 3, by the way.
Edge 3, okay.
Forgot about Abdul Carter.
Oh, yes,
yeah.
Okay. I'm easy to forget about.
Yeah, he's just so elite. I don't even consider him anymore.
Yeah.
I just consider him like he's already in the NFL.
He's already in the NFL.
Yeah.
Proven to be a disruptive pass rusher, both in the Big Ten at Purdue and in the SEC at Texas A&M. Nick Scorton comes in, and what I loved about him, Carson can touch on it more whenever we get to him, but he's like a leaned forward, head of steam rushing style that allows him to plow into offensive linemen. Quick hands, rip and go pass rush style earns him a lot of quick wins to the line of scrimmage. I am excited to see what he can be because I think that he steps in and he will be the edge 1 on this team. But as I've said in a previous podcast, just briefly, I think this Panthers edge rusher room is going to be better than expected. Not really a hot take, just like a lukewarm take. But DJ Wanham, he is at least consistent as a rotational edge who needs some help, almost like a great value Leonard Floyd type. Patrick Jones II showed some signs of improvement in his final season in Minnesota. Fellow rookie Princely Uman-Mielen will bring good length with solid bend off the edge. But their clear leader on the field of how to get it done and make pass rush great again in Carolina, I think is going to be Nick Scorton. He's going to be like that energy guy, I believe, the guy who brings the motor like a Jared Verse type. He's not as good as Jared Verse. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But I just think that he is going to be that style of just like in your face, bowling ball thrown into your gut edge rusher that this team needs to spark the pass rush again.
Yeah, this guy, Keaton said I love him. I kind of picture him as like a little 6-pound bowling ball because he is so dense and strong, but he's also very quick. There's a couple of things that stood out to me as I was watching his film. Number 1, he can use speed, power, finesse. Number 2, I watched him hit Will Campbell with one of the nastiest spin moves I've ever seen. Twice in a row, swimming right around him.
I want him to play guard.
Yeah. And then hot motor, heavy hitter, like Keaton said, all that great stuff. But sometimes people say, all bark, no bite. Nick Scorton is really all bark, no bite because he is one of the greatest edges in college I've ever seen.
All bite, no bark?
No, he's all bark, no bite.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Well,
No.
I'd say he's all growl, no bite.
Okay.
Okay.
Because he's one of the greatest edge rushers I've ever seen getting to the quarterback in college. But he's also one of the worst edge rushers I've ever seen at actually sacking the quarterback.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah,
Because he's always right on his feet, but he can never bring him down somehow.
you could say all bark no bite. Then.
Yeah.
He's always there. He's like,
Yeah, but he never actually bites him.
Yeah.
I've also said he's great at creating havoc, but he can't produce havoc. And also he's more aggressive. He has more aggression than he does skill and talent.
That's
so his
very
motor's
true.
always super hot. He's always right on the quarterback, flushing him out of the pocket, but I don't know if his arms aren't long enough or he pursues too hard and he comes flying in way too fast and the quarterback just has to move a little bit and jump out of the way. But anyways, whether he actually produces or not, him getting to the quarterback is going to create havoc for this defense that they desperately need and then maybe open up an opportunity for some of these other guys on this line that Keaton said.
Yeah, just looking at his stats last year on PFF, 36 total pressures. 28 of those 36 were just quarterback hurries.
Yeah, that's him. Yep.
Only 4 of them actually turned into sacks.
Yeah. He's there quick.
He's there though.
Yeah.
He's always there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's that like pit bull behind the fence that's like clearly bending the fence, but
Yeah.
you're kind of like walking like this. And
Yeah.
But you
see
just
him
have
there.
to move a little bit. And it's like, all right, I'm good.
It's like the dog from Sandlot. It's like
Yeah.
they jump
Yes.
in there and he's like always like right on him, but you can
Yeah.
never get him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's awesome. Okay, let's move to the New Orleans Saints. This team, man, I don't know. We could go basically anywhere we wanted here. They had Derek Carr last year. Then they had Jake Haener for a little bit. And then they had Spencer Rattler. And none of them really worked as well as they'd hoped, I'm sure. So they bring in Tyler Shuck, second-round quarterback. And they're hoping for that, but I'm going to stay away from that just because I want to, and I don't want to go down that road.
It's disgusting.
And it's like the quarterback's always going to be a big deal. So like that'd be easy to call that next factor. Quarterback's a big deal in every single team, obviously. So their defense was actually and has recently actually been better than most people think. And they make it better this year, in my opinion, bringing in guys in free agency like Davon Godchaux and Justin Reed from Kansas City and Isaac Yiadom. So, like, they're bringing in guys, and I think that they should be pretty okay on the defensive side of the ball. It's just their offense that they obviously haven't been able to get going. So, this, I didn't want to do it because it's something everyone talks about every single year, but I'm going to do it anyways because it's something that everyone talks about every single year. I think Chris Olave is an X factor, and like I said, I know I hate it. Everyone says, "Oh man, if Chris Olave like doesn't get hurt or whatever," but it's the most glaringly obvious one. The receiver room sucks. It is not consistent. They just that's the biggest thing. They can't find consistency. They don't have that guy like we talked about for the other teams. They need a guy to just catch the ball. Like they had MVS. Like you said.
Was their wide receiver 1 for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, and then he was gone off the face of the earth. And
Rashid Shaheed got hurt last year.
Yeah, but like Rashid Shaheed is decent. And they brought in Brandon Cooks, which like okay, he's a decent receiver, but he's older and like we don't know. So Chris Olave is still young. He's just incredibly injury prone and all that garbage. But so we don't know what's going to happen. But if he can come back into himself and like what he was drafted to be, which is the number 1 wide receiver in the league, he came out of Ohio State. I mean, he was a very, very good wide receiver. So if he can get back to even mostly what he was, not even 100%, because I know he's been injured and things like that, the Saints will look way different. Tyler Shuck will have a way different season if he can have a Chris Olave on the outside or Spencer Rattler or whoever plays behind center. They need a receiving game to actually work consistently for them because that's what's making the quarterback look bad most of the time. And that, like, they've got decent tight ends. We know they're tight ends. Obviously, Taysom Hill, he's good for everything you need. Juwan Johnson had a pretty decent year. He looks better than a lot of people expected to be. So they've still got Foster Moreau. He's a decent tight end. But, yeah, it's just their receiver room needs to step up. And that needs to be behind Chris Olave.
Yeah, I love this pick, first of all, and I don't know if there's anywhere else you could have gone because Chris Olave has pretty much been an X factor his entire career. Mm-hmm. He's always been trying to be the wide receiver one, but injuries get in the way or his connection with the quarterback or something gets in the way.
Yeah.
And now more than ever probably, he has to be that guy and has to be relied on by this rookie quarterback that was debatably overdrafted and is going to be out of place in the NFL here trying to step into a week one starting role. He needs a Chris Olave, not a Chris Olave, to be there for him because he doesn't have anyone else. He has a 30-something-year-old Alvin Kamara probably. He has a 30-something-year-old Juwan Johnson's pretty young.
He's decently young, probably like 27.
Yeah, he seems old. He's a first-round pick in 2014, Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
And then coming off injury, Rashid Shaheed, and not a whole lot of offensive line. But, Chris Olave just has to be there.
Yeah, just like Carson said, perfect pick, I believe, because it is so important whenever you have that I'll just say it, terrible quarterback room. You don't know who the quarterback is going to be. They need to know that they have a number one receiver on the team. So I'm actually going to be talking about one later. But Chris Olave, I completely agree with the selection here because he's going to be the guy who's relied upon to get open, the guy who, whenever they're panicking, just chuck it up, Olave's down there somewhere. Yeah, and so he has to step up and be healthy for a full season.
Yep.
All right, moving on to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So their offense was great last season, and I could make their new offensive coordinator, Josh Grizzard, their X factor. But more importantly, no matter how good the offense is, even with all the weapons they have, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Emeka Ibuka, Bucky Irving, they have to get some stops on defense first. And last season, their defensive grades were all in the mid-60s, with tackling being below that at 43. And this is kind of a gross pick, but they got to get this aged-out defense a little help. And almost aged-out Hassan Reddick is that pick.
Yeah.
Is that help. And having a pass rusher to go along with Yaya Diaby and Vita Vea would be a huge step forward if Hassan Reddick can return to his previous form. Getting more pressure on the quarterback will alleviate pressure off the secondary, which actually has some solid young pieces to work with in Benjamin Morrison, Jacob Parrish, they just drafted this year. Christian Ezian is still there, Jamel Dean, Zion McCollum, and Twan Winfield.
There you go.
Nice.
As safety.
Coming off injury, I think, right?
Yeah. And hopefully Hassan Reddick can produce some more tackles for loss as well, because this team struggled with that. So if Hassan Reddick can be like he used to be, then this defense might actually be a little bit of force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
But just all last season, Baker was just throwing the rock. The offense was scoring crazy points. They were up there and probably top 5 for points scored this season, but their defense just couldn't get a stop, and that showed in the playoffs as well. They just couldn't stop Jaden Daniels, and they got to get a pass rush. And Hassan Reddick is really the only starting piece that they added on the defense this year, so he has to step up and be that guy.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that he is. I think they probably brought him in and paid him to be that guy, and he needs to be that guy. Most defenses, all defenses need that guy that is like the cornerstone, the rock, the guy that like fires the team up, and just someone that everyone can rally behind and just kind of tie everyone together. And they brought him in to be that guy. It's just, can he be that guy for that team and turn that defense around?
Yes, Hassan Reddick is the perfect pick here because he is just a huge if. It's if he's going to get back to that Philadelphia Eagles form, or is he just a product of what the Eagles were doing there along the defensive line? He has to prove something not only to his team, but for himself. I mean, he didn't want to show up last year to the Jets, which, can you blame him?
No.
No, you can't really. Yeah, but he has to actually show up this time because the Bucs actually need a pass rush after they lost Shaq Barrett and haven't had a pass rush since.
Yeah.
So he has to step in and be that guy, the guy who is the disruptor, and prove that he is that Philadelphia Eagles form of himself, even if he's not in Philly anymore.
Yeah.
That moves us to the AFC South and brings us to, I'm first, but the Houston Texans. And I've already talked about their offensive line, and I have to talk about it at least a little bit more because it is the huge question on the team. Yep. We don't know what's going to happen with these 10 guys, but right now it's looking like there could be one lone returning starter, offensive lineman Titus Howard. He has already reportedly moved to right guard for 2025. He's played left tackle, left guard, right tackle for the Titans. Been one of the team's most steady pass protectors since the Texans drafted him in the first round in 2019. Analysts say that so much of offensive line play is how well every offensive lineman works together. They're just 300-plus pound dudes whose whole job is to form a wall that lets nothing through.
Pretty much.
That's offensive line in a nutshell.
That's why Trump loves the offensive line.
We love the offensive line.
They build a wall around that quarterback.
They appreciate McDonald's just like I do. But then on the other side, there's powerful, fast dudes on the defense whose whole job is to play a big game of Red Rover and break through that wall.
Okay.
But if the offensive linemen aren't used to communicating with each other about which defenders are blitzing, which are backing out, which are spinning some direction, which are sidestepping the other direction, if they aren't used to working together to stop those defenders, there are going to be some oopsie situations where those guys get through and absolutely smack your quarterback. So the offensive line is going to look completely different this year than last year, which is not going to make this easy for the Texans. So I know the offensive line is made up of 5 guys. And one guy by himself may not make a huge visible difference on the field to a casual football watcher. But I think that there is value in keeping Titus Howard in the starting lineup, a guy who has been starting for the Texans since 2019, as I said. And if there is any Texans offensive lineman who you would want showing the new guys how they do things, it has to be Titus Howard. He's going to be that voice in the locker room of this, just like, here's the fridge with all the Uncrustables.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
There's the bathroom. And the guy who I think is just going to show them the right way to do things is Titus Howard, and I like that he has already been announced basically as a starter.
Yeah, I think that sounds like it could be really great for him. Yeah, like you said, that offensive line is like their own family down there, their own little unit. And anytime you see a good one, a good offensive line, they've always got their guy that they rally behind. So, yeah, I think that could be that. They're going to need that to keep C.J. Stroud upright. They can't have what they had last year.
Yeah, you already know what you're getting in the rest of this team, so I love that you chose offensive line because Nico Collins, Christian Kirk, you know you're going to get solid production out of them. Joe Mixon's done it for a long time. And the defense, you already know what you're getting. They bring C.J. G.J. It's another guy you know exactly what you're getting, but this O-line really is the X factor for this team's success or failure.
Definitely. Okay, let's move to the Indianapolis Colts. This is a team that, again, has a defense that's just lights out on paper and on paper, lights out. They've got names, in every single position, and they bring in Charvarius Ward this year and Cam Bynum, so they're just making it even better. So, offensive side is obviously the question mark. So we're going back there again. They drafted Tyler Warren. Awesome. They need it. Their tight end room has been garbage for quite a few years. Their receivers are pretty good. Like, they've got Michael Pittman Jr., they got Alec Pierce, Josh Downs, A.D. Mitchell, and, like, they all work. Michael Pittman's came out to be an incredible receiver. Alec Pierce last year took a huge step up, and Josh Downs is decent. I think he'll get better. So their line is actually fairly decent also, their offensive line. So we're, of course, and they have a stud running back, obviously, in Jonathan Taylor, and they brought in DJ Giddens, our guy from Kansas State, and they have Khalil Herbert, who they brought in. So pretty decent there. So we're, of course, going to that quarterback room. We have to. The X factor is the quarterback room. I couldn't choose one because who knows what's going to happen week 1. Who knows who's going to be in there? Obviously, I'm talking mainly Daniel Jones or Anthony Richardson, but Riley Leonard's there if things get frisky. But, Danny Dimes or AR. One of them needs to do something here because they are now, at this point, the clear downfall and, like, the parachute that is holding this team back from really taking off to where they want to be. AR, we know all his issues or concerns of the past of maybe accuracy, obviously tapping out, getting hurt because the way he runs, things of that nature. And then, so like bringing in Daniel Jones, a lot of people think, yeah, sure. A lot of people probably think it might be good. Maybe think it might be good. So, at least for AR, to have someone in there that's done it and challenge him to be a better quarterback. And Daniel Jones, if he can come in here and kind of, he's always been good at throwing the rock. It's just, can he throw it accurately and not give the ball to the other team 3 times a game? So if he can come in here and be good, this could be a new turn for Daniel Jones, restart his career and be incredible for this Indianapolis Colts offense and whole team in general. So that's why I couldn't choose just one. It's like both are like, is this guy finally going to start his career and be good? Or is this guy going to turn his career around and elevate it from where he already was? Because he had some success, Daniel Jones did. Mm-hmm. But it's like, can he take that next step? And there's not many better places to do it than, like, this is a decent landing spot with actual weapons on this offense and a great defense on the back end so that you don't have to score 45 points a game. So if one of these guys can take a step up, I think the Colts are going to be looking pretty scary to most teams out there.
Yeah, I'm a Shane Steichen believer, and I don't think this offense really asks the quarterback to do too terribly much. No. Anthony Richardson didn't have to do a lot while he was there. He just ran a lot. Joe Flacco obviously made the offense work pretty well. Daniel Jones comes in now, and I think he's the X factor because it really is all reliant on him. Their offensive line lost some pieces, but they're still pretty good, and these other pieces, like you said, are good. So it's just, can Daniel Jones make smart decisions?
Yeah.
As an Anthony Richardson believer and fan, I've kind of been keeping up with the situation going through mini camps and stuff of the Colts. And Anthony Richardson's already dealing with an injury. So, surprise, Daniel Jones I'm seeing a lot of little news updates from beat writers that Daniel Jones is currently on track to win the starting job.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah, I'm going to have to take down that jersey soon, which is annoying because all the tools are there. Just like the team surrounding the quarterback position, all the tools are there. Just do something. The meme of the guy poking the rock, do something. Come on, do something, and this team can go at least like easily 9 wins.
Easily.
If you get like anything from the quarterback position, and then anything plus that, you're getting up to like 11, 12 wins maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
You could.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So last season, their defense was pretty bad, and that takes a lot of the blame, but they didn't really add any pieces there, so what are you going to do? They added Eric Murray and Jordan Lewis, Travis Hunter, if you count him.
Yeah.
So it's like you already kind of know what you're getting with the defense, and when you're watching the Jags, time and time again, it seems like when the offense has the ball and they have a chance to put a game-winning drive together, they just can't. And Trevor Lawrence fails on 4th down, 3rd down, whatever it may be. So I'm kind of cheating here, but my X factor for this team is going to be the entire offensive line. And really, that's the case because you got to have the 5 guys before you can have the burgers and fries. You know what I'm saying? The offensive line comes first. The 5 guys is before the burgers and fries for a reason. Burgers and fries being the offensive weapons. 5 guys obviously being the 5 up front on the line.
5 guys.
I believe in Liam Cohen and his ability to get this offense going with Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter, this 3-headed committee running back room of Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, and Bashal Tootin. And Brenton Strange and Johnny Munt could even provide a spark. Johnny Munt had a little run in Minnesota last year.
So underrated.
Yeah.
I'm a Johnny Munt believer.
But this new O-line, the 5 guys, have to be able to block better than last year. Not to let the play develop only, but to also make Trevor Lawrence trust his line, feel more comfortable, be able to see the field, and give the running backs some running lanes to get through. They bring in Fred Johnson, Chuma Edoja, Robert Hainsey, Patrick McCarry, Wyatt Milam, and a couple other cheek rookies. Something has to stick here. They're throwing so much spaghetti at the wall, and something has to stick. At least some of these linemen are proven. Patrick McCarry from the Ravens is good. Robert Hainsey from Tampa Bay wasn't bad. But all these other O-linemen is a big question mark. I don't know what they're going to do with Wyatt Milam, if they're going to try to start him right away or if they're going to train him and let him learn behind Patrick McCarry. But something has to happen with this O-line before anything else can happen. Yeah. And Trevor Lawrence has underperformed his entire NFL career. And really, if you give him an O-line and an offensive coordinator, which he might have both of this year, at least a little bit, then that can be his finally last chance. You have to do it. No more excuses. You have the weapons. You have enough line, and you have the coordinator. If you can't do it, then you're out of here. So that's really why this offense is and team to get above 3 wins, maybe 6 or 7 wins. The offense has to do it whenever they have a chance to, and that's relying on the O-line.
Yeah, there's not much arguing to that. The offense starts with a good offensive line, and I think you're completely right. I completely agree with you. They need to get an offensive line somewhat in order there to be able to get Trevor Lawrence to be half of what they drafted him to be, and then if they can have any success, then hopefully Trevor Lawrence can get back to what he was, of just slinging the pill and just accurate and just I completely agree.
Yeah, Carson, as you said, Trevor Lawrence has underperformed compared to the expectations for him coming in as the number 1 overall pick, the next prince that was promised.
Undefeated pretty much his entire career up until the national championship.
Yes, yeah. The good hair, too.
Yeah.
Good flow.
Good flow. And it all does, now that it is going to be reliant on this offensive line is what I'm trying to spit out here. Because now the weapons are all there with Travis Hunter. Brian Thomas Jr. proved himself. They brought in the Aussie. I don't even think he's Australian, but Trenton Irwin is on this team now.
I thought you were talking about Luis Rees-Zammit.
Oh,
he's there too.
He is there. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. They have the burgers and fries.
The burgers and fries. But it all starts with the 5 guys.
Yes, 5 guys, yes.
So if they can show up and be a sturdy, nice wall for Trevor Lawrence, then they can push the blame off of them and back onto Trevor Lawrence if he still sucks. So.
Yep.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence is a walking Head & Shoulders commercial just waiting to happen. If he could do anything on a football field to make himself look good.
Millions of dollars, Trevor.
Yeah. Can you imagine the slow-mos on that commercial of the hair whipping in the wind? Oh.
Yep.
But he's just so terrible on a football field.
Yep.
Even Head & Shoulders can't bring themselves to sponsor this guy.
I know.
Didn't they sponsor someone else?
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I thought they sponsored someone terrible and they're just sticking with it. Oh, never mind. I'm thinking Will Levis and Mayo. Short to be coming.
Always thinking about Will Levis.
Yeah. And Baker Mayfield getting stuck in all those commercials too after he sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are at least funny though.
Yeah.
On to the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
I'm going with what's so important this year. I know the defense looks pretty rough and has a lot of guys that need to step up, but that side of the ball is likely not going to be fully fixed this year in this multi-year rebuild. What's important starting this year is discovering if Cam Ward is truly the guy. And one of the big – I'm thinking of the old football fans screaming, "Run the damn ball!"
Yeah.
Because that's what helps. So we're going with Tony Pollard.
Ooh,
I know that the offensive line – maybe it's just wrong for me to blindly trust that this offensive line is going to be good enough to support both the run game and pass game. But I blindly trust Bill Callahan, head coach Brian's dad, proven to be one of the best offensive line coaches in the NFL to make this thing work. For reference, one of his many stops in the NFL was the offensive line coach of the Browns 2020 to 2023. Yeah, remember whenever the Browns offensive line suddenly became great with Joel Bitonio, Jack Conklin, Wyatt Teller, among others, allowing them to run the ball like crazy with Nick Chubb.
Nick Chubb went nuts.
That was Bill Callahan.
Yeah.
So I blindly, I will trust they're going to do at least well enough to support this. So we're going to Tony Pollard. And it's the age-old story in the NFL that what Cam Ward needs is a run game to be able to take some pressure off of him, especially as a rookie as he's trying to learn the ropes. Both
work.
Yeah.
Take the reps to learn the ropes.
Yes. And we hear a lot of rookies talk about after their rookie year, they have what was the hardest thing in your rookie year? It was guys come in and it's learning the playbook because boom, you don't have to worry about school anymore. Your job is to learn the playbook. But these guys are coming in, our veterans are coming back, knowing the playbook already, having longer to prepare while these other guys are just preparing for the draft. Cam Ward has just been training to be good at throwing, to practice and play well in drills, just
to run
look
fast
good.
for 40 yards.
Yes, and to,
in underwear.
Yes, and to practice his interviews. And so what's important is to have that running game. So that falls onto Tony Pollard, I believe. What Tennessee needs is another efficient, healthy season from Tony Pollard. He's got 3 straight 1,000-yard rushing seasons that he just put up back to back to back. And when he is healthy, he has shown his explosiveness, big playability, efficiency, and even his great ability as a receiver, which should really come in handy as a checkdown option for Cam Ward. But Pollard is now entering his age 28 season. So can he keep this up? Or will I look back at this season and wish I would have chose Tajay Spears over Tony Pollard as the X factor for the Titans? Carson, you're a fan of both Pollard and Spears. What do you think of this selection?
Yeah, I really like. My favorite part is how you said the check down option, because time and time again, these veteran quarterbacks stress just take what the defense gives you, don't play hero ball, and that's very important for Cam Ward, because one of my biggest knocks against him coming into the league, why I didn't have him as my quarterback one, is because he tries to play way too much hero ball. He's not much of a pocket passer. He's always looking to get outside and huck the ball deep, make those crazy plays, and I think if he can stand in the pocket, wait for the play to develop, and if it's not there, just check it down to either Tony Pollard or Tajay Spears, then that is going to be huge for him. And about Tony Pollard compared to Tajay Spears, I like Tony Pollard more because I think Tajay Spears, it's more you know what you're getting with him, whereas Tony Pollard is a bigger boom or bust, boom being he is his previous form and he is as explosive and dominant as he used to be, but the downside being he could be injured again with the foot and ankle or whatever was nagging him. So, yeah, I think Tony Pollard is a huge determining factor for Cam Ward's success.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Okay, let's move to the NFC East. We're going to start it off with them boys down in Dallas, the Dallas Cowboys. All right, if we look up and down this roster of this team here, first of all, we got Dak coming back. Should be coming back this year off injury. So, not going to choose him because we should know what we're getting with Dak. Like he's
going with Joe Milton.
Yeah. Joe Milton. Yeah. Dak's a gunslinger. He likes to throw the rock. He's had a lot of good numbers over the past years and hasn't really been an issue. Well, that's debatable. Maybe in the playoffs he's been an issue for Dallas, but we're not looking at playoffs. We got to go to the regular season before playoffs. So I'm not too worried about Dak. Their defense is kind of not in great shape going into the season. Got some injuries, but they brought some guys in, so I'm not even going to really focus there because I think there's possibly more holes to fill there. I don't think one guy on that defense is going to make a huge, huge difference. So I'm going to go back to the offensive side yet again, and their receiver room obviously looks good. They have CeeDee. They brought in Pickens, and they got Jalen Tolbert, who even made some plays. Their offensive line looks really good, and they have been very good in the past, and they only made it better with bringing in Tyler Booker in the draft. So we got to go to that running back room, and that's by far the X factor here. The running back room in Dallas has been more or less absent for a past few years, if not absent, at least tardy. So
that's a good one. That's good.
Yeah. That was nice. Well done. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's been the glaringly obvious issue on this offensive side that has possibly been limiting Dak, especially when they get to the playoffs. It's like good playoff teams have that run game, and this team has not. And again, I couldn't choose just one, so I just had to choose the duo of Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders. One of these guys needs to take a step up. I wanted to choose Miles Sanders more because if we think back when he was prime Miles Sanders, he was very, very good. And I think him at his at least close to peak again, him playing how he used to play, I think he would fit that Dallas offense very, very well. Javonte Williams, I think he could also be very good. But for some reason, in my brain, I think Miles Sanders has a higher ceiling if he's healthy than Javonte Williams does, because I think we've seen close to as much as we'll see with Javonte Williams in Denver. It didn't look great, and of course Miles Sanders has been not great over the past few years also, but so one of these guys, of course, these are the X factors. If this team can get a run game going between one of these guys, well, hopefully both of them, but at least one that can take that number one role, the number one running back role on the team consistently, I think that's going to change the way the Cowboys look and could possibly propel them to at least a playoff win and hopefully not make Dak poop himself in the playoffs like he seemingly always does. But I think that does lean on that run game a lot. So one of these guys needs to step up, if not both. If not, maybe even some of the rookies they brought in to help out in Yeah, in that running back room.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of Jaden Blue hype, and
Chicken Jade on Blue.
Chicken Jade. Oh, that's good. Dude, there we go. Chicken Jade on Blue. I'm using that from now on. That's good. And I've probably heard just a lot of hype from him. I wasn't super impressed with this film, but because it's just Miles Sanders and Javonte in front of him is probably the reason that I've heard a lot of hype.
Yeah.
But I don't know who I want to put my money in. I might just want to back out. But it really is. This team's offense does come down to the run game because Rico Dowdle did all right last year. He did better than anybody would have expected. Mm-hmm. He had some really good games down the stretch, but at the end, you could just tell he was a backup running back.
Yep.
You could tell he was a backup running back. So they brought in guys, more backup running backs. Yep. Let's run it back.
And big pile of shit.
Yeah, big pile of shit. I don't know who I want to bet on. I think that I kind of lean toward Miles Sanders, just like you, Cody, because I really fear that Javonte Williams, his knees are just not what they used to be. He was too explosive with too big of a body, and eventually everything tore
Something's
down
gonna
there.
give.
And it gave.
And it gave, yeah.
And if Sean Payton couldn't make him work as a running back, I don't have big hopes that Brian Schottenheimer can make it work. So we'll see. What do you think, Carson?
Yeah, Javonte Williams is like a much worse, shorter-lived Todd Gurley.
Shorter-lived, yeah.
And that was short.
That was short.
Yeah, that was short.
Wow.
Yep.
Jesus.
So, I also would put more faith in Miles Sanders. Not because Miles Sanders, but
because of the surroundings.
Exactly, yes. I'm not betting on Miles Sanders. I'm betting against the rest of the running back room.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Moving on to the New York Giants. So we talked about this team on the last episode with Mark. And if you have a great pass rush and a good defense, you're going to be in games. And the Giants are going to have that opportunity to be in games. Their O-line is bad with a pass block grade of 57.6 and a run block grade of 59.7. But the run game was actually going, and it kept them in games last year with Tyrone Tracy. Mm-hmm. They didn't change their O-line, and the quarterback play was terrible. Russell Wilson is a possible Hall of Fame quarterback, but he's never had to carry an offense before like this team needs, and I don't see him doing that now in his age 36, 37 season. He's been in run-first, game management type offenses, Marshawn Lynch, then to Denver. But first-round rookie quarterback Jackson Dart has carried an offense before on a smaller stage, but I think it could translate to a little something, making him my X factor. He was Keenan's quarterback one at this draft class, but he's not going to do it right away. He's going to need some time to learn, but later this season, whenever Russell Wilson continues to inevitably do the bare minimum, Jackson Dart is going to get a chance to elevate this offense, and this makes him a huge X factor, and this team has the pieces around him to make a run in the playoffs in the near future if he can develop into that quarterback that can provide a spark, use his rushing game, use his passing ability, and elevate this offense more than Russell Wilson's going to be able to.
Yeah, everything is here. The pieces. We talked about it last week. Again, we love talking about the Giants. There's something about Big Blue that gets us excited.
Right.
Yeah. Tyrone Tracy, Cam Scatterbo, Malik Neighbors, Darius Slayton, Wandale Robinson. That should be enough to make you good. But it does feel like it's only a matter of time until Russell Wilson underwhelms. And I feel like Jackson Dart can at least whelm. Right? I don't think he'll underwhelm. I think he'll at least whelm.
He will whelm, yeah.
He can whelm. And that's what the Giants need. Again, we talked about teams that just need steadiness, like the Raiders. Steady quarterback play. And I think that Jackson Dart can at least bring that. We talked about during the pre-draft process. I don't think Jackson Dart has the highest ceiling. I'll go out. I'm going to say that. He doesn't have the highest ceiling. I don't think he's going to be the best quarterback in the world. But I think he's going to be steady Eddie, a guy who can run an offense, and that's what the Giants need right now to kickstart this thing back up from years of misery.
Yeah, I agree. That is exactly what they need. And Motley Crue style, kickstart my heart.
Nice.
They need something. And, yeah, I do agree, though. I think if I were a Giants fan, I think I'd want to just throw Jackson Dart out there instead of like a Russell Wilson. Just realize that it's a rookie quarterback. We don't completely know what's going to happen, but he's going into at least on paper, pretty good situation. Like, he's got the guys there to help around him, and, of course, the defense on the other side. But I think I'd want to throw him out there, too, so I agree.
Yeah, I mean, I see what Brian Dable's doing. He's trying to protect his butt. He's like, this quarterback class isn't the best, but if I don't do something, then I'm going to lose my job. So, like, I'm going to draft somebody, and I'm going to bring in a veteran so that I have the best of both worlds to take 2 stabs at the 2.5
right,
with Jameis. Yeah.
Merriam-Webster dictionary definition for whelm.
Okay,
Nice.
here we go.
To turn something, such as dish or vessel, upside down, usually to cover something, cover or engulf completely with usually disastrous effect.
Oh.
Oh no!
Oh, no.
That's my quarterback one in this class.
Hopefully he can whelm.
Yeah, hopefully he can whelm.
Hopefully he can turn upside down,
Yeah.
usually to cover something. Cover or engulf completely with usually disastrous effect.
So we could think about this. He might be whelming Brian Daboll's job.
I think of it more as so he's cover or engulf completely with usually disastrous effect. So is he gonna cover up the rest of this team so much? No, is he gonna cover up the rest of this team because he is so disastrous that it's covering up the rest of the team? You see what I'm saying? He takes all the attention because he's so terrible.
The scapegoat.
He covers up how good the rest of the team actually is.
That's possible.
Oh, gosh, I hope not.
Hopefully, hopefully he doesn't whelm.
I hope that he at least turns it upside down because this Giants franchise does need turned upside down and
Yeah.
How about the intransitive verb? Because that was the transitive verb.
Okay, so yeah, we
now we're going intransitive.
Yeah, we do need to. I definitely know what that means.
To pass or go over something, so as to bury or submerge it.
I was just trying to make a joke
So
because underwhelm means bad. Whelm must mean average.
I just figured I'd go back to my Merriam-Webster because
Merriam-Webster, they do it. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
they've been doing it for a while. Yeah.
Thank you, Carson.
Yeah, no problem.
Let's move on to a team that is
They whelm.
they whelm.
Oh, they whelm.
They whelm.
They overwhelm. Yeah.
Overwhelm. But like
Overwhelm.
overwhelm's bad too. There is no
I don't
good
know.
form of whelm. Underwhelm
Because
is bad.
on this team's like lines, they overwhelm you.
They overwhelm the defense.
Yeah.
They
And
overwhelm
that's
their
good for
opposition.
them.
Yes.
Bad for the opposition.
Yeah, we got there.
So
Yeah.
do we want Jackson Dart to whelm the defense? Because that doesn't really make sense either. Like we want him to cover up the defense.
We want him to flip it upside down.
Like he's this fly.
Yeah, the fly.
We want him to whelm the defense because like you say like he's like putting the defense like the shredder or like the
Putting the ankles in blender.
What's it called? The
Blender,
blender. Yes,
yeah.
the blender. He's gonna turn this defense around.
Yeah.
Like I'm all turned around. Like I'm confused. You know.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
Like in basketball, when someone like Juicy like puts a spin move on, you're like, he like got me turned around.
like Big Ben pump fake level, like spin the defense around.
So we want him to whelm the defense.
There we go. We got there.
The opposition defense.
Yes.
Yes.
Not overwhelm, because he's not going to do it with like a big,
Right.
you know.
See,
Just
yeah,
whelm.
a big.
we need to work for some kind of dictionary company. Words can mean a lot of different things.
Yeah, like
It's all about perspective.
yeah.
Well, they're spelled, so the words are spells because they're spelled. So how they're spelled is what they mean.
Like could they?
That's Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, of course.
Quote.
Did you watch any clips from that Joe Rogan podcast?
No,
I heard it was 3 hours of nothing.
I can't wait to watch.
Who?
Remember Joe
Rodgers.
Rogan went on.
Joe Rogan.
I heard
Yeah.
it was like 3 hours of just nothing.
How about a sentence?
Sure, use it in a sentence, please. Yes.
A swimmer whelmed in a raging storm.
See, that doesn't tell me anything. The sentences the dictionaries
They're so
use.
bad.
That's one of my qualms. Qualm.
Yeah.
That's one of my qualms with dictionaries. Is that the sentences that they use don't actually tell you what they mean.
Nope.
It's just here's how it looks in a sentence. It's
Yeah.
like I whelmed. It's like thanks.
Yeah, it's like run. I went for a run yesterday. All right, thanks. What's that? Yeah.
Awesome.
Or sometimes they'll give you a definition or a example sentence with a word that you have no idea what it means. So then you have to go look up that one, and then you don't know what that means. So you look at that sentence, this is another word that you don't, and it's just a rabbit
You're
hole.
so deep in it, you forget what you were looking for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So then you have to like go forward 4 steps and back 4 steps to like connect all the dots
Then
about what
use
that word means.
context
and-
clues.
Yeah,
and
To finally figure out like, this word probably just means like happy.
yeah.
All in all, I guess
Should have went to a thesaurus.
Yeah.
if there's anything that I've learned from us doing these podcasts together, it's that we don't know enough words. Like
You're right.
we don't know what words mean before we use them.
No, that's because you guys are trying to use nuance out of nowhere.
Thought it was seance.
Say on.
That's not
what
even
got me
close.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what got me so confused the first time. Is because I hear everybody talk about route running nuanced, but like in my head, there's always the word seance.
It's nuances. I
and
think.
seance is like whenever you're It's like Ouija board.
The New York Giants need a seance.
Seance?
It's like like talking to ghosts and like spirits.
Yeah,
like
that's what a seance is.
Like seance? Like when you're talking to Beyonce, is it like seance?
Well, if she were dead.
Oh,
right. You have a seance to communicate.
So like whenever you use a Ouija board, I think that's like a seance.
Probably. That idea for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Philadelphia Eagles. We're back.
recording.
Yeah, we're still. We have talked tirelessly about the Eagles because they're a Super Bowl winning team, and they have no holes if you look at the team.
No holes.
But I had to dig. I had to dig a little bit. It's one of those times that like
holes. You had to dig.
Yeah, I had to dig, but I had to dig to find more holes. It's like there's
Shia
a lot
LaBeouf.
of connecting tunnels.
So you're trying to find a cave.
Yes, but like they covered up the cave with dirt or something, so I couldn't find it at first.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
So I had to go kind of dig a little
You had
bit.
to go spelunking.
Yes.
Spelunking.
Nope.
That's those stupid things that those guys do. They're the cave explorers that shove their bodies through little tiny spots.
Like how that guy got stuck upside down and died.
He was spelunking.
He was spelunking.
I did not hear about that. Was he underwater?
No.
Oh.
That's a
just
sad
got stuck
situation.
there?
Yeah, because he went down in like a crack because he thought it was going to open up. Didn't open up and he was just stuck
He
down.
couldn't get out. Yeah.
Nobody found him. He was
they
spelunking.
He was
couldn't get him
with
out.
people, but he had to go through such a small area to get to there. Then like down, they couldn't even get through the area to pull him out.
They didn't have like drills or shovels or anything. It was a rock.
I guess they tried pulling him out with like something from the surface or whatever, and they like got him almost out, and then like something slipped and he fell back down in.
Holy shit.
Sad situation. There's a documentary about it.
Yeah.
Okay, don't spelunk.
Don't go
Don't
spelunking. Yeah.
Like you had to.
Yeah,
Like
you
I had to.
Yeah.
But luckily, I was just looking on Our Lives depth chart. I wasn't actually spelunking. What I found was that the starting outside corner opposite Quinyon Mitchell is probably the most sketchy part on the team. And honestly, it could look kind of bad. And not just like bad on the Eagles sense. It's like, oh, that's not that bad if we're talking like
Relatively,
on the Titans. But like this actually could get bad.
Freaking catching the strays.
The Keely Ringo and Adoree Jackson are looking like they're slotted in to have a little battle for the outside corner starting position. Because nearly every other position on the team either has a star player or good depth, or both. So early in the season, we're going to learn if outside corner is going to be their weakness or not. Because obviously Quinyon Mitchell at CB1 and Cooper DeJean and Nickel are just absolutely great. Probably one of the best tandems in the league.
Yeah.
But Keely Ringo has never played more than 233 defensive snaps in a season, and Adoree Jackson turns 30 in September, and his play has shown signs of decline in the past 2 seasons. So and that's honestly it. That's all they have really at cornerback outside of DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell. They have guys Eli Ricks,
Who?
AJ Woods,
Who?
Tariq Castro Fields.
What?
Good name. Yeah, wow.
We don't really know. And I do think that Mac McWilliams, their 5th round pick, is going to be a solid corner as well, but he again is a nickel. So you need that outside corner, and Keely Ringo, a guy who, whenever he was drafted in 2023, there was talk about, is he going to be a 1st round pick? And then boom, drop to the 4th round, and it's like, ooh, that doesn't look as good now.
Yeah.
And we're gonna see if he is that 1st round pick caliber player that just got shadowed. He fell down while he was splunking and got stuck down there.
Yeah.
And they're actually going to save him.
Oh.
They're going to give him a shot. He might fall back down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But we're going to see because that's really the only hole that I could find.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. You're right. I mean, this team's so loaded, but that's definitely the spot, I think, if you're looking for a hole in the defense or a hole in the team, is that corner spot.
Old great show. I was on something. It was like Nickelodeon or something. The hole in the wall.
Oh, yeah.
That's such a good show.
Yeah, every time I look at this team, I'm just amazed by how much talent they have.
So good.
The guys that they have that they aren't even able to start because they have so much depth and talent here.
Yeah.
Kenyon Green.
Yeah.
Josh Uche, I guess. Jihad Campbell.
Yep.
Aziz Ojulari.
Aziz
Ojulari.
Yeah.
Adoree Jackson. Well, he's not good anymore. Andrew Makuba.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move to the Washington Commanders. Again, another team that was awesome last year. Jaden Daniels came in and lit the world on fire and had everything clicking. And their defense wasn't the best, I don't think, but
They had their moments.
yeah, they had their moments. They brought in dudes now, though. They brought in Javon Kinlaw, Dietrich Wise, Jonathan Jones, Will Harris, and they drafted Trey Amos for a corner, too. So they made some serious moves, and looking up and down like that defensive side, they look like a force to be reckoned with now, and they did what they had to do on that defensive side to get guys in there. So back to the offensive side. Obviously, Jaden Daniels had a lot of success last year. Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler were a formidable duo, and like they had as much success as you could hope out of those guys. So I'm going to stay away from there too, but they added some dudes on that offensive line. I'm going to specifically go to Laramie Tunsil as the X factor. He is older now, of course, but if he can come in and play up to like his top level, because he's getting older and hasn't been like, he wasn't as great in Houston. He was still very good in Houston, but I still think that he's going to be the determining factor here in making that offensive line good and keeping Jaden Daniels clean here, obviously coming in to be the left tackle, one of the most important positions on that offensive side of the ball. Because if we look back at what Jaden Daniels did last year, and we can kind of relate this to left tackle play and line play in general, but I think left tackle and a stud like Laramie Tunsil is going to make the most difference here. That's why I chose him. But anyways, average time to throw, he was like almost 3 seconds. So that's pretty decent, but I think that was a lot. Like, that looks pretty good on paper. But Jaden Daniels got out and moved a lot, all of the time. He was on the run, on the move, which he had success doing, but that's not what you always want to do to have a consistent offense and consistent success. And so we also look at pressure to sack ratio. Jaden Daniels was 50th in the league last year with that. That is not good. He was a top, I don't know, depending on what stats you look at, he was top 10 quarterback last year in how he performed. So pressure to sack ratio was 22.3%. That means anytime they were getting there, a lot of times they were getting a sack, which means that they were just pressuring the hell out of Jaden Daniels. So I think that can play into Laramie Tunsil being there, being a force on the edge to keep him out of there. And he also, I know he was a rookie, so a lot of these are also probably rookie related somewhat too. But turnover-worthy plays. He was 45th in the league with 11 turnover-worthy plays, which I think is related to him being forced out of the pocket, being on the move, and making a throw that's not accurate, or not having time to read, or having too much time to read. So a lot of those type of things, and he was also pretty rough with interceptions, which relates to that turnover-worthy plays, in my opinion. So interceptions, he had 9 last year. That's 55th in the league. And also ADOT, average depth of target, was only 7.9. So like, he had time to throw, but I also think there's times he didn't have time to throw, or at least enough time to read. So if he doesn't have to worry about the line this year, is what I'm getting at. If he doesn't have to worry about his left tackle at all, that's only going to make Jaden Daniels better in his second season and help him with those few little downfalls he had.
Yeah, I think, especially being a right-handed quarterback, left tackle's your blind side. And if he can trust the O-line all that more to stay in the pocket just a little bit longer, we see what he can do with Terry McLaurin when he stays in the pocket for as long as he can. The play where he gets drilled in the ribs as he throws the touchdown to Terry McLaurin and sticks in my head.
Yeah.
If he could just have a little more time there, then maybe we could see that more regularly. But most times Terry didn't even have time to get down the field because they were getting the ball out so quick because they had to.
You see the average depth of the target; it's only 7.9 yards.
Yeah.
Like, that's if you can get that closer to that 10 mark, like a lot of the better quarterbacks and like better teams have that open it up, it's going to be an even better looking team.
Yeah, there were so many times where I just can picture Jaden Daniels had to scramble out, and a lot of those sacks were him running out of bounds like 1 or 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage.
That's true.
Because he was forced out, because he didn't have the best protection there. And Laramie Tunsil comes in as one of the best pass protectors in the league, and hopefully can sure that up, much like how Trent Williams has done it in San Francisco. Hopefully Laramie Tunsil can come in and do the same thing in Washington.
All right, moving on to the AFC East, the Buffalo Bills.
The Bills.
Seemingly every season the Bills lose to the Chiefs in the playoffs, but it's never because of their offense. Going back to more prior times, losing with 13 seconds left on the clock for Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
This year they lost by another 3 points, where Patrick Mahomes just scored last.
Mm-hmm.
And their offense always does everything possible, and the defense can't stop Mahomes when they have to. We all remember the Bills' cornerback, too, Khair Elam, the tall and skinny, long-necked guy, not being able to cover anybody.
Naked or naked?
Naked.
Okay,
Naked.
long-naked.
Nice.
Yeah,
Long
sure.
naked.
Nice.
He couldn't cover anybody, and they just kept targeting his guy over and over again. He's on the Cowboys now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Khair, yeah.
Yeah, they went and traded for him. They wanted him.
Oh,
They
yeah.
did.
How could you not?
We went with that naked guy.
So they need a solid corner opposite Christian Benford to try to hide their terrible safeties, who they didn't really address this offseason. So I can't give an X factor there because you know what you're getting in those safeties, which unfortunately is not a lot. But they had a team coverage grade last season of 48.3. And if they can cover for even just a few seconds, it'll give their pass rush of Greg Rousseau, Joey Bosa, and Ed Oliver an opportunity to get to Mahomes. So my X factor is going to be first-round rookie corner Maxwell Hairston, speedster out of Kentucky. I think that he can be the guy to pair up opposite Christian Benford with Taron Johnson in the slot that can finally provide some coverage. Cole Bishop, Taylor Rapp at safety. Then Tre'Davious White, they also have a corner to maybe help him learn a little bit, as Tre'Davious White's done it for so long now. But yeah, Maxwell Hairston has all the physical traits in the world to do it. He's more than willing in run support, which I was very surprised with. He'll come down and try to make a tackle on you. Even though he is a little undersized for it, he puts his whole heart into it. And he could be the puzzle piece that brings this team all together, finally gives them enough defense to get some stops in the playoffs. Because Josh Allen's always going to score the points. There's no question there. This far in his career, he's done it for so long. You can just mark that up as a sure thing. But this defense, man, just get a stop and stop the passing game a little bit. And then hopefully you'll actually make a Super Bowl.
Yeah, why he's an X factor, and what we will tell you, and what probably most scouts will tell you, is that I don't really think Maxwell Hairston is a first-round talent.
Yeah.
And they drafted him in the first round because they obviously believe, but he's by no means a surefire. This guy's going to be a CB1 in this league.
Well, also because the Bills probably weren't picking again until who knows when.
Yeah,
we talk
that's
about
true,
that
yeah.
with the draft too. It's like, would he have made it to the end of the second?
Yeah, there's a good chance that he might not have. It
Yeah.
would have been close. I mean, if in my rankings he would have, but in the draft he probably wouldn't have.
Right, and so it skews it a little bit.
Right. But he is as I said, he's by no means a perfect corner. He is a speedster, and I think he is going to be slot in as a good CB2. It is nice that Christian Benford is there, and you're right, Carson. I'm sure that Josh Allen is so sick and tired of shootouts, man. He's like, I'm tired, man. I don't want to have to score 30 points like Joe Burrow every single week.
Yeah.
If we're going to actually make a Super Bowl, we need some kind of stoppingness, some kind of caramel, something sticky on the defense to
some stickiness.
yeah, something to stop him. I was talking to Reagan yesterday. We were driving out on the town, and I was like, you know what? I'm tired. Like my brakes were getting tired. I could tell. There were some times where I was driving in a new place. I didn't really know where the stops were going to be. So boom, stop sign. And I'm like, man, if cars were just like roller coasters that had the hooks that grabbed my front axle and stopped me, helped me stop, so I didn't have to use my brakes.
Your front axle would probably be touching your rear axle.
Well, probably. But I was just thinking that's what the Bills need. They need a hook with hydraulic brakes to help them stop.
Yeah, they do. It's like those things that catch the fighter jets going onto the
the aircraft carriers.
Aircraft carriers. Boom,
It's 2025. Why can't we put those in the roads?
Why can't we put those on the Bills' defense?
Yeah. Give them all hooks.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're completely right, though, going to that defensive side. That's definitely what they need.
And I'm going to move next to the Miami Dolphins. I have to go quarterback here, which is Tua Tagovailoa. I am still amazed, I guess, that their offense didn't work last year with all the pieces that they still had. I mean, Devon Achane was not as efficient as he was. Raheem Mostert was in and out of the lineup. Tyreek Hill was in and out of the lineup. Jalen Waddle was in and out of the lineup. It's just nobody could stay healthy except for Jonnu Smith.
Yeah.
He's still there unless the Steelers go trade for him.
Ooh.
But it has to be Tua because put some respect on Tua's name, people.
Yeah.
Is he overpaid? Yes. But he's still a good starting quarterback who's proven that he's been the only one who can move this offense. Because since the Dolphins drafted Tua in 2020, the seasons where Tua has started at least 13 games. That's the number I had to go with because he's only started 17 games once.
Oh, boy.
But at least 13 games started. The Dolphins have finished top 11 in points scored and top 6 in yards gained, peaking at second in points scored and first in yards gained in 2023. Now, the seasons where Tua has started less than 13 games, the Dolphins finished bottom half in both points scored and yards gained, bottoming out at 22nd in points scored and 25th in yards gained in 2021. This team needs Tua. Does he have the biggest arm? No. Come on, say it with me, boys. Is he a rushing threat?
No.
Does he have any elite abilities? No.
He's pretty good at getting concussions.
That's true, yeah. But is he a smart quarterback who knows how to run this offense, get the ball out quick, facilitate to the right pass catchers?
I guess.
When he's not concussed.
Yeah, when he's not concussed. Right, yeah. There were some times last year where it's like, you clearly have a concussion.
You have a concussion.
That wasn't smart.
He's seeing 3 receivers.
They could have done that. Yeah.
And in a Shanahan-style offense where scheming open receivers, getting them the ball, letting them go to work is the name of the game, Tua is the quarterback this team needs. Not Ryan Fitzpatrick, not Jacoby Brissett, not Teddy Bridgewater, not Skylar Thompson, not Tyler Huntley, and definitely not Tim Boyle. Get that guy out of the NFL, please. Those are all the quarterbacks who have come in for Tua and failed to move this offense like Tua can. So, is Tua anything special? No. But he has at least proven that he can move this offense, and you can't deny what he's done whenever he's been on the field compared to everybody else.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. That's an easy pick, but it's not the wrong pick. They need Tua in there to throw, like you just said. I mean, you explained it very, very well. This offense, and specifically offense, like last year, sucked so bad. And if Tua's not in there throwing the ball, you might as well not even watch. It's just, it's going to happen. And, they need Tua. He may not be special, like we just said, but when he's in there, he understands that Shanahan system well and is good at executing that system well. Like we say, anyone can do it. It's like, well, we're kind of joking because not anyone can do it. Tua is clearly smart enough, when not concussed, to execute that system to its max ability.
Yeah, Tua's probably going to be an X factor for the rest of his career unless he strings together a bunch of good seasons because of his health, but also because of how he performs when the weather gets cold. It's kind of a joke, but it is so true. Yeah. This team cannot perform like they do when the weather drops below 40 or 50 or whatever it may be. They're just so used to warm weather. Tua's had warm weather his whole life between Alabama, Hawaii, and now Miami.
Hawaii, good shout out.
Yeah, he's a good ooze.
Down.
Him and the cold just don't gel well together.
Yeah.
Oh, kind of like Diesel. They
Tua
and Diesel both gel.
They both gel in the cold.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if it's not Tua this year, then it's Zach Wilson, who's wearing number 0, which is probably the amount he's going to bring to the team.
Oh.
Or Quinn Ewers, who's probably is out trying to kill a gator right now.
Probably. Yeah.
Down there in Miami.
Probably riding them.
He might be riding gators.
He
probably tamed a gator to run down other gators.
You're right. He probably did.
Yeah.
Man, I wouldn't say hate seeing Quinn in there. We'll see. Okay, let's move to the New England Patriots. New England Patriots are basically a whole new team this year, you could say. They brought in, obviously, Mike Vrabel. Huge move, and we're all huge fans of it and huge fans of Vrabel. They made so many moves this year. You can look up and down the roster. It's not going to look the same out there on the field, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
So hopefully they can turn this around. But one position that I think is going to be key, be an X factor, be critical to this team, Josh McDaniels, the OC. Is this guy still good at OC? Can he still do it? We've seen in the past, had a lot of success with Bill Belichick, and goes out to be a head coach.
Crash
Dumper. Yeah, it's not good. But a lot of times we see these guys go back to their coordinating position because it's a completely different job and have success again. So can Josh McDaniels put together the offense? Because there were bright spots last year with Drake May, rookie, coming in and doing what he could with who he had there. But this year we've got the new weapons that hopefully he can Can Josh McDaniels put together the new weapons of Stephon Diggs, Mac Hollins, and like Travion Henderson? Those are like the main guys that they brought in this year.
Kyle Williams.
Yeah, Kyle Williams too, rookie they brought in. So,
offensive weapon Will Campbell.
That too. I mean, that's all. Can Josh McDaniels put it together is the main question, and that's going to the New England Patriots' success is probably, you could look at it either way. It's going to, fortunately or unfortunately, pivot on Josh McDaniels.
Yeah, I agree. Their running back room is probably the strongest part of this team right now, as they showed last year. Ramondre was surprisingly efficient. Travion Henderson is incredible.
Yeah.
And Antonio Gibson showed some spark at times. So that should take some pressure off Drake May if he can scheme up some good plays and easy plays to get the ball out of his hands quick, give him some easy reads. Just get this offense moving, like you said.
I like how you went with Josh McDaniels here. I have trust in Mike Vrabel to get something out of the defense and at least make them formidable. What's important right now is the offense and Drake May's development. So just getting an offensive coordinator in there that is steady and worked with Tom Brady, whether who should get the credit there, we don't know. But yeah, it is definitely, I feel like, the right direction to go with Josh McDaniels.
All right, moving on to the New York Jets. We're going back-to-back offensive coordinators.
Nice.
By definition, a strong but unpredictable influence. The biggest X factor on this team is Tanner Engstrand, the offensive coordinator.
Engstrand, yeah.
Aaron Glenn brought him with him from the Lions, where he was the passing game coordinator in 24. Pass game coordinator in 2023, whatever the difference is.
Okay.
Is that a promotion or demotion?
I don't know. And various other offensive assistant roles on the Lions since 2020.
Yeah.
So that's not whatever. College stats. He was a college quarterback. 3 passing attempts resulted in 2 sacks for negative 16 yards and 1 completion for negative 1 yard.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I'm not trying to rip on the guy, but I'm definitely concerned about him as the offensive coordinator for this team. In his time in Detroit, he has never had an even somewhat mobile quarterback, and that's what Justin Fields is and exactly what he needs to be. He's had Jared Goff, Matt Stafford, these guys that are pocket passers and pocket passers only. We saw Justin Fields on the Steelers, and when he was running play action or RPOs or run keep options, we were dangerous as an offense. And I'm worried that Tanner Engstrand is going to not scheme this offense correctly and try to use Justin Fields like a pocket passer as he has for his entire offensive coordinating career. But given the right scheme, this offense could be dangerous with Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Mason Taylor, Garrett Wilson. Even Josh Reynolds, Alan Lazard, and Malachi Corley are better receivers than what Justin Fields was working with on the Steelers.
Yeah.
And this O-line is pretty good as well, and the defense has been elite before. You now have another defensive head coach in Aaron Glenn that can hopefully turn this defense back to what it used to be. But this awesome offensive coordinator, Tanner Engstrand, has to use Justin Fields the right way. So, in my opinion, the success or failure of this offense and even the entire team pivots on Tanner Engstrand.
I like that. I like that a lot because there are kind of question marks up and down. You could have even gone with defensive coordinator in my mind because the defense greatly underwhelmed last year. They were below whelming.
Yes.
And which was bad because they still had like all the same pieces that they had back whenever they were good, and then all of a sudden, boom, shit the bed, bad again. But offense, again, they need just kind of like it looks very different from years past because you get Aaron Rodgers out of there, bring in Justin Fields, Josh Reynolds is coming in, Alan Lazard, what's he going to be without Aaron Rodgers? Breece Hall needs a bounce-back year. It all starts with the offensive coordinator, so I like that pick.
Yeah, as long as he hopefully he's given the reins enough to be able to, like, open up his scheme or whatever you want to say to be able to let Justin Fields be Justin Fields and, like, start the offense there and let these guys get back to being good, like Breece Hall. Like, that's going to be a huge deal for him too, and that offense is getting that run game going, and then that'll help with the receivers that they have since they don't have the biggest names out there.
But if Justin Fields doesn't work, Brady Cook is there.
Brady Cook
is
is
there.
Yeah.
Tyrod Taylor too, but
Nah. NFC North. Chicago Bears are going to be first, and what we're going to be going with. Well, honestly, you look up and down this roster, and this is another team that, much like the Colts, who just kind of haven't put it all together. The Bears haven't put it all together yet, but they have all the pieces there, and I'm excited to see what they're going to look like. But one place that I would like to see them improve, and they really need to improve, is on the edge, across from Montez Sweat. So I went with Edge, Austin Booker. Since the Bears traded for Montez Sweat midseason in 2023, they've been searching for anybody to help him in pass rush. They brought in Dayo Odeyingbo, who previously played in Indianapolis, as a middle-of-the-road rotational edge rusher. They brought him in knowing who he is already. They drafted Austin Booker in 2024 in the 5th round as a toolsy upside project out of Kansas. I have my scouting report pulled up on him here. He was like a long-striding, wanted to rush around the offensive tackle in pursuit of the ball carrier. He's long, lanky, 6'4.5", 240 pounds. He wasn't the quickest from what I saw. Kind of hesitant in run support, but strong-armed guy, again, long as I said, and I think that he is the guy that defensive coordinators dream about. With his frame and athleticism, he just needs to be coached up, is what a lot of scouts believe, to become a great pass rusher. Obviously, he's not super talented whenever he was drafted in the 5th round, but if the Bears want to make a deep playoff push like Ben Johnson is dreaming of, Booker needs to step up across from Montez Sweat. Yes, I know they brought in Grady Jarrett and Shamar Turner too. Those guys are going to help with pass rush on the inside, but again, they still need that outside presence across from Montez Sweat, who can actually do something and be a pass rusher. And because, as we've said, like last week, pass rush keeps you in games. And the Bears have everything else, so if they can have a pass rush that can additionally help with that, they're going to be looking pretty scary this year and for years to come.
Yeah, definitely on paper, this team looks like they got all the pieces. So I completely agree with what you said. It's like, can they help out there? And because, man, the Bears, they are just like the Colts in being that, man, they've got all the pieces they could ever want. Like, they did a great job assembling this team. So
yeah, reaching pretty deep into the edge room there, but that really shows the state of this edge room and the lack of talent that they have. But like you guys said, is their only weak spot. So. And you got to have a good edge room to have a good defense, because otherwise they'll just be able to stand back there all day and slice apart your defense. Corners, no matter how good you are, can only cover for so long. So,
Yep. Moving to the Detroit Lions. So they lost Ben Johnson, is what we're talking about there. So who knows what that's going to be, but they've still got all the pieces on the offensive side. They still look good. Going to the defensive side, they should be, like, we know that the defense was kind of their downfall last year. So I really wanted to choose someone on this defensive side. But being that, like, the definition of an X factor is unpredictable, that part of that is in there, Aiden Hutchinson should be coming back. To me, he's not unpredictable. We know what Aiden Hutchinson is. He should step in there and be great. They brought in DJ Reed to that corner room. The corner room was a huge concern last year and probably their downfall for a lot of games. Well, they won a lot of games, so the end of the season was their downfall. So they brought in DJ Reed. That could possibly be an X factor, but to me, he's not that unpredictable. I think he'll step in and be pretty good. So I had to go back to the offensive side, and I'm going to go back-to-back OCs for me. I had to choose their offensive coordinator this year, John Morton. Just because of the fact that everybody talked about, Ben Johnson's the mastermind. He's like making all this magic happen on the offensive side, which was awesome, and we think he was. That's true. So what is going to happen when you lose Ben Johnson? You lose your mastermind behind this offense that makes it all click. Sure, they've still got dudes on this offensive side. They've still got names. They've still got talent. But if you don't have someone corralling that talent and like making it click and making it all work together, you can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't have someone to organize it, then you aren't going to have success. So that to me is the biggest thing for this team, is if John Morton can keep it rolling with this Detroit Lions offense to keep them the 14 win team, playoff winning team, Super Bowl contending team that we know and love. And we'll just have to see what happens. They lost a few guys, but they've still got most of their pieces there. So it's just, can they put it together? That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, this team does definitely have all the pieces, and like you said, this is really the only piece that left them, and it's probably the most important piece for an offense. So it really is dependent on what he can scheme up here for this team, and if he can get the offense going the same way Ben Johnson did.
Yeah, because
I think he was an internal hire, right?
No, he's from Denver.
He's from Denver.
Oh,
I think
okay.
he was Denver's pass game coordinator.
I think
Okay.
so. That sounds
So
right.
they kind of saw what Bo Nix did.
Yeah.
And, how much was Sean Payton? How much was this guy? How much was the offensive coordinator in Denver? We don't know. It's kind of just like a stab, and that's why he's an X factor.
And yeah, that's the biggest thing. Also, like, for the Lions too, why he's such an X factor is because lots of times, or maybe not a lot of the time, you can tell like head coach leans one way or the other. Like Sean Payton, obviously offensive mastermind, might not even need an OC. Guys of that nature, there's a bunch around the league. So MCDC, Dan Campbell, he's not really one of those guys. Like it seems like he's pretty even everywhere, and just is a guy that ties everyone together and brings his culture and everything like that. So that's why it's such an X factor, is because it doesn't really seem like if your OC's struggling on the lines, you can't really lean on the head coach, Dan Campbell, to help out. So we'll see.
I think I was thinking of defensive coordinator Kelvin Shepard was an internal
Yes.
hire.
Yes,
he was a
he was.
linebackers coach or something. Okay.
Ex-player, yeah.
LSU.
All right, moving on to the Green Bay Packers. My X factor, getting right into it for them, is Nate Hobbs, newly acquired
Nice.
corner from the Raiders.
Yep.
And there are two main problems that he has that really make him the X factor. So the first being injuries. He's never started more than 11 games in a season in his 4-year NFL career.
Jeez.
And the second being inconsistent play. So his rookie season, he graded out at 79.1. Last season, he graded out at 61.4.
Oh, boy.
Large decline there.
Large.
He needs to stay healthy and return to his previous form to help fill the hole that Jair Alexander leaves. Now, not that I'm too concerned about that, because Jair only played 33% of the snaps last year because he has injury problems of his own. But Keyshawn Nixon and Carrington Valentine aren't very inspiring corners for this defense. Now, they did
Good names, though. Real good names.
they did outperform their expectation last year, but
Overwhelmed.
Yeah, but they can only be so good, and that's neither of them are a cornerback one. So they need corner help, especially when you have to go up against Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison twice a year,
Ooh, baby.
Amon-Ra twice a year,
True, buddy.
DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Luther Burden twice a year, and then you got to figure out how you're going to cover Colston Loveland, T.J. Hawkinson, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs too.
Oh, man.
This division has so many weapons that you need corners to cover them.
Yeah.
But there is a bright side here.
Okay.
Eric Stokes is finally gone.
Hey,
And
there
he
you go.
sucks.
Yeah.
PFF grades from the previous 3 seasons: 53.7, 51.5, 61.3. He's a liability, and he's finally gone. He's starting somewhere else, though. Can't remember where, but
Raiders, I want to say.
yes, that's right. Yeah, because the Raiders are starting Darian Porter and Eric Stokes.
Oh, nice.
That's their problem, though. Green Bay Packers have their own problems, and that is if Nate Hobbs is going to perform and be healthy. And in more good news, I think Jeff Hafley did a great job with his defense last year. They had a very underrated defensive season. Now, these stats, when I read them, I was taken aback. They were 4th in the NFL in takeaways, which is fumbles
Wow.
and interceptions
Yeah.
combined.
Xavier McKinney.
Yeah, and they were tied for 8th most sacks in the NFL
Jeez.
with edge rushers Rashawn Gary and Lucas Van Ness.
Wow.
So Jeff Hafley must have did something with his defense that made them play above what they've done in previous seasons. But on the other hand, the offense was overrated, being 26th in interception percentage and 31st in completion percentage.
Yikes.
Now, Josh Jacobs carried this offense through the run game, but with an offseason for Matt LaFleur to drop some new schemes, and I think Matthew Golden is going to fix the efficiency issue as a reliable route runner and separator. I think this offense's efficiency can improve just with those things, and I think that's a pretty safe bet because we all love Matthew Golden and what he brings. So therefore, I went with Nate Hobbs as my X factor because he is unpredictable, and they do need to get some coverage help.
Yeah, this is definitely unpredictable and could be quite concerning because their top 3 corners play best in the slot. Nate Hobbs, Keyshawn Nixon, Javon Bullard is their nickel corner right now.
Who's actually a safety.
Yeah, he's actually a safety who they throw in the nickel. So we don't really know what's going to happen because Jair Alexander is obviously gone. Carrington Valentine was pretty good last year by PFF standards, but he's still just 24 years old. You don't know if he's going to be able to do it again. You need to see this again, and who's going to play on the outside and who's going to play on the inside. We do not know.
Yeah, when healthy, Nate Hobbs is a tackle machine,
He
which
is.
goes to another reason why he should be playing in the nickel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
On to the Minnesota Vikings next. Ugh.
Vikings.
Minnesota Vikings.
Minnesota.
All right. I went with pretty simple, and I'm ashamed of it, but it's J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah.
Their quarterback is the X factor on this team. And you could say, like, oh, it's just another Kevin O'Connell quarterback season. Like, he's going to be fine. That was, like, one of the reasons why, honestly, I didn't go with defense because Brian Flores defense, everybody's going to be fine. They were good last year with pieces that they were making work, and now they just got even better on the defensive side. So I went offense because I will go out on record and say that I am still skeptical of J.J. McCarthy. Seems like nobody has talked about who J.J. McCarthy is as a player since he was drafted. Everybody's just nearly every piece of content that I have seen, I've consumed, if you will, about J.J. McCarthy starting this year for the Vikings has just basically said he's the next Kevin O'Connell quarterback, so he's going to be good. He was by no means a perfect prospect. So I pulled up my old scouting report of him, and he wasn't a big arm quarterback. I thought his timing was just like slightly slow. He was a junior whenever he was drafted, so he wasn't there the whole time. He just kind of won that national championship in Michigan, and then
See ya.
Yeah, because Blake Corum was there, Donovan Edwards was there. They carried that team through the run game because it was a Jim Harbaugh offense, Jim Harbaugh team. He did show that he was pretty decent as a scrambler, but I felt like his abilities were just kind of limited. Now I know that if there were any offensive coordinator or offensive mind, because he's a head coach, that I would want him to go to, it would be, of course, Kevin O'Connell. He's proven he can do it with Kirk Cousins, had his best seasons there. Sam Darnold obviously just got paid because of Kevin O'Connell, basically.
Josh Dobbs,
the Pastronaut. Yeah. Nick Mullins had some moments in there. But he missed, J.J. McCarthy, that is, missed nearly all of his rookie year with a torn meniscus. So he was getting time to learn the playbook, sure, yes. But it's not like he was out there practicing for this whole past year. Now, does he have probably the best wide receiver in the league in Justin Jefferson? Yes, I know that will definitely help. But I'm still, again, going to go out on record and say that I'm skeptical, maybe like my own limb. I'm going out on my own limb here. I'm still kind of skeptical. Is J.J. McCarthy going to work? Like, I know that Sam Darnold looked pretty good last year, but at the end of the season, he kind of started to fizzle back to Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
J.J. McCarthy's basically a rookie coming in, and we know how tough it is for rookie quarterbacks to adjust to the NFL most of the time, unless there's C.J. Stroud or Justin Herbert or Jaden Daniels. And I honestly don't think J.J. McCarthy's any of those guys as far as, like, talent profile, looking at that alone. So, I think it has to be J.J. McCarthy.
Yeah, I agree. He definitely doesn't look like those guys on the film, so you just hope that whenever they drafted him, they liked what he was about, like in his thinking habits and the way he can operate, which I'm sure is why he drafted. He was good enough to win a national championship no matter how good the team was around him. You still have to be like a pretty good quarterback to be able to do that. So it is definitely a huge question mark, though, just that they're saying, he'll be good. It's like, but will he be good enough to be like super successful?
Yeah, they just won 14 games last year, so now the bar is set pretty high thanks to Ginger Sam, who just did that and up and left.
Yeah. Going into your first year, like first full year starting, presumably, it's always a question mark for every quarterback coming in, and he definitely doesn't on paper or on film have the traits of a C.J. Stroud or a Jaden Daniels to go out and have a career like, or a first year like that. So it is a huge question mark. I agree.
Agreed. He has a great offensive line, great weapons. He has the 5 guys in the burgers and fries. Now they just need the guy to make the burgers and grill the fries or whatever, or grill the burgers and make the fries.
There you
Why
go.
has
Yeah.
nobody ever grilled fries? There could be something there.
Oh,
That actually
Sounds
sounds kind
delicious.
of good.
but they have 4 sides, so it's like you gotta flip them 4 times rather than burger getting flipped twice.
Yeah, just burn them crispy a little bit. You know?
Yeah.
I guess, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. If this is one of the better spots for a first-year starting QB to go, though. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, definitely one of the best spots. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's hit the AFC North last. We're going to start it off with the Baltimore Ravens, a team who obviously has a ton of success every single year behind Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh. So I splunked through this roster a little bit, and it's like, who do they did really good. Like, they've got some aging guys on the defensive side, like Kyle Van Noy, who's still playing up to par, but like they did a good job drafting dudes this year and filling any holes that may arise in the future years or they needed right now. Like they got Malachi Starks for a free safety, and what a pick. Like that seals up so much of that back end with just one pick. They brought in Jair Alexander. He's not really a question mark. He's a great cornerback. They needed that. That was their biggest thing to me on that defensive side that they could have used was a corner. And now they've got Jair Alexander to go along with Nate Wiggins, who was on the other side. So
Best safety room in the NFL?
who does Atlanta have still?
Jesse Bates and they just drafted the guy. We said a lot of names today.
Yeah.
Not Starks.
Xavier Watts?
Thank you.
That's
Yes.
debatable then.
I'd go Kyle Hamilton, Malachi Starks.
I would too.
Yeah.
I would too. There's definitely
Okay, yeah, you're right. I
people
would
we're
too.
Forgetting.
I would too, yeah. They're one of the better ones.
Eagles. Yeah.
Andrew Makuba.
Reed Blankenship.
DeJean. Well, DeJean,
Slim
yeah.
Nickel.
Sidney Brown. No, I'd still go Ravens.
Yeah, so they're loaded, is what we're
They're
saying
loaded,
on that.
Steelers? Minka? That's about it.
No. Yeah.
Anyways.
They're pretty loaded to me on that defensive side, even though that was kind of their most glaring spot. I think they re-upped well, so we go to that offensive side, as I feel like I've done every time, but a lot of it pivots on that offense. So still got Derrick Henry, still got a pretty good offensive line. You obviously still have Lamar. So that brings us down to that receiver room. So that's got to be it for me. The X factor has got to be D-Hop here. Zay Flowers, great receiver. He did very well, and he's very, very good whenever he's in there. But we saw games where he was not in there.
In the playoffs.
And boy, did it look bad. Like, there's no real great options. They have Rashad Bateman, but he's also had injury issues also, and he's not really anything as special as they wanted him to be. So they brought in D-Hop, hoping that they can get some veteran presence, some reliability, get his massive mitts in there to catch the football. That's really what this team needs to hopefully put them over the top and just give them some depth, mainly. Some good depth that can help them get over the edge. So, yeah, I think D-Hop he's probably not going to be that, like, superstar number one wide receiver. He is older. But if he can come in and give them reliability and another good set of hands that Lamar can rely on, then I think that's going to be huge for Lamar and this offense's success down the stretch in the season.
Luckily for the Ravens, they also have Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews to kind of help out with their receiver room.
Yep.
But, yeah, I think that they definitely need a guy behind Zay Flowers to help, like you said, and you laid it out well there.
Yeah, completely agree because, in that game that they lost, we were just looking at it against the Bills in the divisional round last year. Zay Flowers did not play, and Isaiah Likely had to be basically the number one receiver. And I do think that he is definitely a very good receiver, receiving weapon, tight end.
Just can't put him on the outside. Obviously.
Yeah, exactly. Can't put him on the outside.
Yeah.
He has to win from the inside, and sometimes you just need that guy streaking down the field, screaming across the field, doing things across the field that only good wide receivers can do. So D-Hop is definitely needed on this team.
All right, moving on to the Cincinnati Bungholes.
Nice.
For their X Factor, I'm going with second-round rookie linebacker Demetrius Knight Jr.
Oh, nice.
last season they had a 43.3 tackling grade, and the rest of the defense didn't grade out too bad in the mid to low 60s, which is better than you expect for the bungholes. But Demetrius Knight is going to start as the weak side linebacker beside Logan Wilson, and he's going to have the opportunity to make some plays and wreak some havoc, which is perfect for him. He's a hard-hitting, in-your-face linebacker that has a chance to bring in a modern-day Vontaze Burfict type of deal to this defense.
Look out.
Yeah, honestly.
I comped him to Edgerrin Cooper, and I saw flashes of Drake Greenlaw in him. If Demetrius Knight can fly all over the field, get into the backfield, make plays like he did in college, then this defense might be able to finally get some stops for Joe Burrow and strike some fear into offenses like Vontaze Burfict did to finally maybe win the first 3 weeks of the season this year and actually make the playoffs.
All right.
They can hope.
That's a pretty high bar to set.
Yeah.
I like this pick a lot. It looked like a crowded linebacker room whenever they drafted him because they still had Omar Davis-Gaither there. They still had Jermaine Pratt and then got rid of both of those guys. And I love how they're just going all in with Demetrius Knight Jr. And they saw last year whenever Logan Wilson was out, Jermaine Pratt and Omar Davis-Gaither just were not cutting it.
Yeah.
No.
So Demetrius Knight Jr. should come in and automatically just make that room better and bring some youth to a defense that badly needs it.
Big spark.
Yes.
Big spark to that defense.
We're going to move on to the Cleveland Browns, our second to last team here. The mistake by the lake. There's a lot of mistakes on this team. There's a lot of mistakes on this team. I'm going to go with a guy who I hope, for his own sake and for the team, God bless you.
Thank you.
I just hope this guy is better, and I hope that he proves Steve Smith Sr. wrong. I got to go with wide receiver Jerry Jeudy because right now he is the team's wide receiver one. As I said, we were going to be bringing up a team's wide receiver one again. Here it is. Do I believe that he is a true wide receiver one in this league right now? I honestly don't.
Right.
I need to see more.
Yeah.
Jerry Jeudy has been in the NFL for 5 years. He was the 2020 15th overall pick by the Broncos. 2024 in Cleveland was his only 1,000-yard season. So
It's not great.
that's not great.
Yeah.
Yes, out of 5 seasons.
Not for a first-round receiver.
Yes, exactly. So who knows who the starting QB is going to be right now? Whoever it is, they're not going to be one of the better QBs in the league. I'll tell you that right now. So they're really going to need help from a wide receiver one who can be trustworthy by separating and dominating opposing cornerbacks. It sounds like Jerry Jeudy is attacking this situation of uncertainty at the QB. Ugh. It sounds. Let's start from the beginning. It sounds like Jerry Jeudy is attacking this situation of uncertainty at the quarterback position with the right mindset, though. There's a little quote from him from mini camp or OTAs or whatever. He said, "It is pretty difficult because you want to always build that relationship with the quarterback and have that consistency throughout the years. But as a receiver going through that, you just got to keep working and you got to learn how to adjust no matter what. Some situations ain't going to go as planned. So you just got to figure out how to just keep going and stay on the right path." So it sounds like he is not all angry like he was in Denver whenever he was on his way out of there. It sounds like he's attacking this at the right mindset, which is you have to in Cleveland, you have to try to attack it glass half full because everything there is glass half empty. So you got to be the guy who brings the positivity, especially to a stinky situation.
Yeah.
So
Figurative and literally.
yes. So Jerry Jeudy, again, needs to prove Steve Smith Sr. wrong. He needs to prove that he is more than just a guy and keep his head right because this Browns quarterback situation could be a revolving door all year long. We don't know right now. So Jerry Jeudy has to put up another 1,000-yard receiving season with quarterback parentheses S. There could be multiple quarterbacks, and he has to be the guy who is getting open, making things easier for those guys.
Yeah, he's going to have to do it Terry McLaurin style, no matter who the quarterback is there, no matter how many times it changes. Holy smokes. He's still got to produce, and Cedric Tillman showed some flashes last year. I think Deontay Johnson, should he stay healthy, should take a little pressure off.
David Njoku.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Harold Fannin if he comes to fruition. But, yeah, Jerry Jeudy is going to have to be that guy for whoever's in there, like you said.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it was good to see last year that he could still, he could get 1,000 yards. He can be a higher target, higher production type of wide receiver. So, yeah, I completely agree. They're definitely going to need that to have any success at all on that offensive side.
I had to make him the X factor because we don't know if he's going to do that again. That could be just like a one-off season where he was just targeted a bunch because it was his first season in 5 years that he put up 1,000 yards. So he needs to prove it again, in my opinion.
He does.
And Jameis just slings it to anybody.
Yeah.
Yep.
Exactly.
All right, moving on to the last team, the hometown Pittsburgh Steelers.
Here we go.
I had to do some splunking of my own for this team. Because as you look up and down the depth chart, defense is loaded. You could say that
definitely
D-tackle Derek Harmon's the question mark because we have to be able to stop the run like we haven't been able to.
True.
But I have some faith in the defense to figure it out because even not being able to stop the run, we were still definitely good enough.
Formidable.
Yeah. Darius Slay, I feel like we know we're getting in him. Super Bowl winner. And then you go to the offense, there's the obvious. Aaron Rodgers. But it's another guy I feel like we know what we're getting. Like I feel like he doesn't have the same caliber MVP type season in him that he once did. But we also know that his floor is fairly high because he is so intelligent. He's done it for a long time.
He can still huck it.
So that takes me to what's been the Steelers' issue for some years now. The wide receiver room. More specifically, my X factor is Roman Wilson.
Yes.
I like this. I mentioned this too. Yeah.
The Steelers' offense is and has been missing that reliable target. Third down, gotta have it. Go-to guy that every good team has. Yeah. And this is really Roman Wilson's rookie season because of injury, and he has the opportunity to go be that guy for Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, Jordy Nelson, his Randall Cobb, that guy had a slot that he can rely on.
Yeah.
Steelers usually draft receivers very well, too, which is a good sign for Roman Wilson. And this team just needs some consistent offensive production to go along with this great defense. We already know what we're getting in DK Metcalf and even Robert Woods. DK Metcalf's that big down-the-field guy that Aaron Rodgers said he's stoked to come play with, and it was part of the reason he came to Pittsburgh. Robert Woods, he hasn't been good for the last 5 years or so since he worked under Cooper Kupp.
Good blocker, though.
Good blocker, yeah. So hopefully Roman Wilson provides to the Steelers what he did to Michigan in his time in college as that reliable go-to guy, pretty much the whole offense, because Aaron Rodgers and the rest of his offense desperately needs it.
I love this pick.
I do, too. When's the last time the Steelers have had that type of dude? I'm trying to think.
Separator like that?
Well, just a reliable.
You could say Deontay, but it seems like he always drops every wide open third down.
I was gonna say, do we go as far back as like a Hines Ward?
Maybe Hines Ward, Heath Miller,
or like first 2 seasons of Juju.
You could argue that. Yeah,
I'd say that's more like it because we need him to be like the Juju type. We don't need him to be the Heath Miller. We just need him to.
We don't need him to be the one.
Yeah, we need him to be the Juju to DK Metcalf and Antonio Brown.
Yes. Boom.
I love this pick because the way that Aaron Rodgers plays now, he's obviously getting up there in age. We saw how he was last year. We even saw like late stage Tom Brady. These guys are old. They don't want to get hit. So they need somebody who can get open fast and usually out of the slot. And that is Roman Wilson because you look at, as Carson said, DK Metcalf and Robert Woods aren't separating from anything. Unless it's 30 yards down the field. But Aaron Rodgers isn't always going to have the time to wait for DK Metcalf to get open 30 yards down the field.
Correct.
So Roman Wilson has to be the guy to come in and actually stay healthy this year and just get open from the slot, be that easy target to move the chains that Pittsburgh has so badly been needing for years.
Yeah, the Steelers keep trying to do it with the tight end, and like Freiermuth, great tight end, but like if you don't have a lot of these defenses in the NFL are so good now, it's like they're learning how to cover tight ends. So it's like there's still when you watch football games, it's like you can still see a lot of slot receivers, like good ones, having success. Like there's holes in defenses for slot receivers, and the Steelers have been missing that for a long time. So I love it. I love that choice.
And even like linebackers are now more athletic than they used to be.
More athletic.
There aren't any more not too many 260-pound Brian Urlacher linebackers who are just run supporters. Like you got Fred Warner could out athlete Pat Freiermuth every day of the week. So you're not going to get open a lot of times. And even like big safeties, Kyle Hamilton. There's no way that
6'4".
There's no way that Pat Freiermuth is going to get open on Kyle Hamilton. So you need a slot receiver who's quick and shifty and can actually make some separation.
Yep.
Love it, boys. Well done.
Love it. Well done. Thank you guys for watching. We appreciate it.
We're taking 2 weeks off. We're going to be taking 2 weeks off because 4th of July is next week. We'll be camping with the fam.
Happy birthday, America.
Happy birthday, America. celebrating it the correct way with beverages.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, beverages, fires,
and
food.
New game, too.
New games, karaoke. Yeah.
It's going to be so have fun with your family and loved ones and celebrate America as we should.
Stay safe, though. Keep all your fingers.
Yeah.
Shooting off fireworks.
Yeah.
Don't make your own fireworks in your garage.
Yeah.
There's really no need for that. They sell that
And
stuff.
also, don't set them off in your garage.
Don't set them off.
Preferably set them off outside.
Exactly.
That's weird.
No
but yeah.
bootleg fireworks.
Bootleg fireworks. Get the water.
But yeah, I'm happy to be back. I'm basically Pitbull, Mr. Worldwide. You know?
Worldwide,
yeah.
Coming back from Europe.
Yeah, it was.
Carson will be going to Colorado too. That's why we're gonna be
Yeah.
taking the second week off. But yeah, that's why Cody was not here in Europe.
Yep. Went to the hometown, Ireland.
Did you pre-game over there for the Steelers game that's gonna be in Ireland?
I had to.
Pre-gamed months ahead of time.
Yeah, just have to have a couple Guinea.
Yeah.
Guinea.
Nice. I like that.
That's plural.
Yeah.
Guinnesses.
Oh,
It
no,
doesn't
that's-
sound right.
Guinnessies.
On that note, so you got some vacations here. It's obviously summertime. So get out there, have fun, celebrate America next week, and we appreciate you guys watching, as always, but we will be back. Don't even worry about that with more good stuff to talk about. So we'll catch you then. Thank you guys for watching. See you later.